I call to order the meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of River Edge, May 10th, 2021, regular meeting, 6:30 p.m. I ask everyone to stand for a moment of silence for Sergeant Christopher Cheevers, who served this borough faithfully and with great honor, who has passed, as well as Councilman Ed Lane, who served the council for 12 years and served the borough for 12 years as a councilman with honor and with great distinction. So if we could have a prolonged moment of silence as we honor these two sons of River Edge. Together, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have a lot of good things happening tonight. We're going to have two proclamations. We're going to have a presentation by Paramount Assets. We're going to have a public hearing on the submission of the grant. And we're going to have outdoor dining ordinance. So we have a lot of good things. Without objection, I'd like some flexibility with the agenda. I think without objection, I'd like to move the outdoor dining ordinance forward if possible after the hearing on the trust grant and before we go to the, after the appointments, I think, before we go to the second reading of the ordinance and the resolutions. So is there objection? Hearing none, so moved. All right. Statement of compliance with Open Public Meeting Act. This meeting complies with the Open Public Meeting Act by notification on January 8th of this location, date, and time to the Ridgewood News and the Record, and by posting of the same on the Municipal Bulletin Board and the Borough website, and filing a notice of the same with the Municipal Clerk. Roll call.
Councilwoman Listede.
Here.
Councilman Canigo.
Here.
Councilman Gaudier.
Here.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
Here.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Here.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Here.
And Mayor Papaleo.
Here. All right. So I would need a motion. Could I have a motion from Council President Canigo and Councilwoman Listede to approve the minutes of the Mayor and Council closed session meeting of April 19th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. This is not debatable. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Listede.
Yes.
Councilman Canigo.
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
And Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, could I have a motion and second from Councilman Gaudier and a second from Councilwoman Kaufman to approve the minutes of the Mayor and Council regular meeting, April 26, 2021. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Listede.
So moved.
Second.
Yes, I forgot to let them say moved and seconded. My bad. Not you, Judy. You're doing it right. All right. Please continue.
Councilwoman Listede.
Yes.
Councilman Canigo.
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
No.
And Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So now we're up to proclamations and awards. We have two tonight. We have the month of caring. Is there someone present to receive the month of caring proclamation?
Yes.
And who might that be?
I'm Aaron O'Shea.
Hey, how you doing? We're so glad you're here and so glad you're, Aaron, ready to receive it. We thank you for that. Aaron, since you're receiving it, I'll give you an opportunity, if you want, you don't feel you need to say a few words about the proclamation after I read it. All right? All right. We have lots of Aaron O'Shea's. Well, it's like Truth or Jeopardy. Aaron, please stand up. All right, so proclamation. Whereas our lives have been rearranged by the worldwide pandemic, and whereas our experience of isolation and separateness can seem greater than ever, and we should focus our thoughts on giving to others by supporting nonprofits, churches, and other local services through financial offerings, volunteering, and educating ourselves on how to build a stronger community and common good by sharing our gifts. And whereas COVID has taught us to rely more on social media to connect, and by using the internet, we can easily select organizations to support and can make online donations to local organizations to help our neighbors who are suffering from direct and indirect impacts of COVID. And whereas research suggests that donating to someone else's lifts our feelings of happiness, and philanthropic and charitable organizations of giving and all kinds can result in health benefits such as decreased stress, lower blood pressure, and increased self-esteem. And whereas, as part of the Silver Award Project, members of Girl Scout Troop 5516 have established May We Always Care for Others to encourage our residents and neighbors to give substantial donations to those in need all year round. And whereas Abby Furr, Sabone, I have Sabone, Bryant, Isabella Lee, and Aaron O'Shea from the Girl Scout Troop 95516 also encouraged residents to embrace giving through intention and action and sharing this movement on social media. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Thomas Papaleo, Mayor of the Borough of River Edge, and on behalf of the council, do proclaim May 2021 as a month of caring. Okay, so would one of the girls who are present or more like to speak to this and tell us a little bit more about it? They don't have to if they don't want to.
I can talk a little bit about it.
Excellent. Would you, are you Aaron?
Yeah, I am.
Go ahead, Aaron. We're glad
I'm
to hear
sure.
from you.
Should I just say like a brief summary about what we're doing?
I would love that. I think everybody else would too.
Okay. Hi, I'm Aaron. I'm from Girl Scout Troop 95516. And for my Silver Award project, along with my fellow group members, we are declaring May as the month of caring. We wanted to educate people that instead of just giving during the holidays, which is when most donations are given, people should give all year round. So we're setting donation boxes around River Edge. And people can donate toiletries, clothing. We're doing storage bins because the York Street Project asked if we could donate storage bins because like the donations that they receive need to be put in something, and gardening tools for a newly constructed garden.
That's wonderful, Aaron. Do any of the other girls who were mentioned wish to say a word or two? You don't have to, but if you'd like to, you may. You gotta unmute yourself.
Hi, my name, it's pronounced like Siobhan Byrne.
Sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, Aaron like said it. Like, my mom, she works for the York Street Project, and like she says that donations are really good during like the holidays and this and that, but like they run out of things. So that's why we're mainly looking for like sustainable things that will last a long time. But toiletries, like everyone always needs them. So that's why we like put it on the list. So yeah.
Wonderful, Siobhan. Thank you. Anyone else? Any one of the other girls would like to speak to? They don't have to, but if you would like. All right, so girls, I'm going to give this proclamation to our borough clerk. and Deputy Clerk, and she'll arrange for you guys to either come pick it up or send it to you. And we thank you for your Silver Award project and for the good things that it's doing for River Edge. Our second proclamation is Mental Health Month. Do we have someone who will be receiving this?
Andrea Oida.
Andrew, all right, great. So when we finish presenting, if you'd like to say a few words, that would be great. Thank you. Proclamation. Whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, and whereas all Americans experience times of difficulty and stress in their lives, and whereas promotion and prevention are effective ways to reduce the burden of mental health conditions, whereas there is a strong body of research that support user-friendly tools that all Americans can access to better handle challenges and protect their mental health and their well-being. Whereas mental health conditions are real and prevalent in our nation, and whereas with effective treatment, those individuals with mental health conditions can recover and lead full, productive lives. And whereas each business, school, government agency, faith-based organization, healthcare provider, and citizen has a responsibility to promote mental wellness and support prevention efforts. Therefore, I, Thomas Papaleo, Mayor of the Borough of River Edge, do hereby proclaim May 2021 as Mental Health Month. So, Andrea, please.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you very much for the proclamation, and I want to thank the mayor and council for their support of our work with stigma-free. Our mission is really very simple. Our mission is to educate the community and try to create a feeling of helpfulness. We want people with mental illnesses to know that there is help available, that the community cares for them. Mental health is often called the no casserole disease, because if somebody has cancer or they broke a leg, everybody runs to give them a casserole to help them. But people like to shy away from talking about mental illness and acknowledging mental illnesses. But we feel it's very important that it's out in the open and that there's no shame. And the more people that talk about it, the better off everyone will be. And there is help available. There's a lot of help available. And we try to have some programs with speakers in the field of mental health. We have a book discussion coming up on May 20th. The book is My Perfect Life, and it's about a young man. It's written by a young man who was severely depressed and got help and is now doing very well. We have also a concert in Memorial Park coming up on May 22nd, because we also believe that wellness is a part of mental health and doing things that are positive in your life. So sometimes people just need hope.
Yeah.
And many mental health experts will say the most important thing is to give someone hope. And sometimes if they don't have hope, you have to hold it for them until they can get there. And so be aware of what your neighbors and family members are going through and try to support them and get them to the help they need. Thank you.
You're welcome, Andrea. Thank you for bringing this and encouraging us to declare May as your Mental Health Month. We appreciate that, and we appreciate all the efforts of the Stigma-Free Committee. And thank you. And I'm going to give this to the Deputy Clerk, and she's going to get this proclamation to you. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Welcome. All right, we are now up to a presentation by Paramount Assets for the property located at 915 Kindercamac Road. So let's begin with that. Who will be speaking for Paramount Assets?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Great. So if we could, if you just, for the public's benefit and for the record, if you could say your full name, your address, and then the council is here to hear from you.
Great. Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. My name is Joseph Alesso. I'm the Director of Development for Paramount Assets. We own the property at 915 Kinderkermack Road, and we'd like to make a presentation to the council and the public on an idea and a concept that we'd like to present and move forward with. I'm going to turn the meeting over to my counterpart, Rich Dunn, who's our Senior Vice President, and he will give that presentation. And if you allow him to share his screen, he'll be able to put up a graphic depiction of the property as well as the proposed project.
Mr. Alessio, just 1 second. Aaron, O'Shea, and friends, you are welcome to stay if you want to, absolutely. But you may want to, get to homework and things like that. So if you want to stay, girls, absolutely please do, and see this presentation, but you don't need to if you don't want to. Okay. Mr. Dunn.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and the Borough Council. It's our pleasure to be in front of you tonight to discuss the possibilities and feasibilities of transforming 915 Kinderkermack Road into a possible Wawa. We understand, the complex nature of redevelopment and development in Bergen County. And we understand that, this is a process that we will employ is to make sure that we keep everyone attuned and focused on what we're doing. So if at all possible, I would like to share my screen. I see the controls are free. And I want to give a brief presentation on the proposal. I also want to give the Borough Council and the Mayor and the public just a little background about who we are as an organization and what we bring to a community. I know that sometimes redevelopers and real estate companies, they seem to just want to develop and leave a one's town or borough or city, but we're different, and we're a family-owned organization, and we are committed to working with everyone to ensure that everyone is pleased. So I'm going to share my screen now. Bring this up. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Terrific, terrific. So basically, let me just give you a little background of Paramount Assets. Paramount Assets is a family-owned real estate company. We are full service. We do everything from redevelopment to management and to leasing our properties. We stay 100% focused on our real estate holdings. We are very engaged in the communities. We stay with the properties. We don't sell our properties. We maintain them and we hold on to them for years. Our team consists of many professionals who are in the industry, and also our team does consist of many individuals who are community-minded individuals. Myself, for instance, I was a school board president and current school board member in Old Bridge Township. And my heart bleeds when I see individuals like Aaron O'Shea. I think that commending our children is a wonderful thing. And I thank the Borough Council and the Mayor for recognizing such wonderful children. It's very good to instill that in our next generations. Also, I am the fire chief in Old Bridge Township. Also, Joe Alesso, who's the director of development, he's also a battalion chief in Morris Township. So, we are very community-minded individuals, and we bring that to the table as well because we understand the sensitivities that come with working with municipalities. The site that we're referring to is 915 Kinderkermack Road. It's approximately 1.68 acres of real estate, which sits between Spring Valley Avenue and Bloomfield Avenue, or you can look at it on the corner of East Midland Avenue and Lincoln Avenue. It's roughly 75,000 square feet of real estate that sits there, and it's underdeveloped right now. Just real quick, I'm showing some slides about who we are as Paramount Assets. It is a family-owned organization. We are in 23 different municipalities in New Jersey. We are in Hackensack. We deal with Hackensack on a very good basis. We are in many other communities throughout the state. Again, 23 different municipalities, and we do everything from ground up to adaptive reuse of historic buildings, et cetera, et cetera. So basically, this is the site that we're referring to. Everyone's familiar with it. It currently has the bank associated with it. The bank will be leaving at some point in the very, very near future. We're sad to see them go. Obviously, they have their own reasons for leaving, and we bought the site, with the bank as a tenant. And as you can see, and I'm sure everyone on the Borough Council is aware of the site, it is a large parcel, and it's a piece that could be utilized in different fashions. The concept that we are bringing tonight to the council is the possibility of bringing a Wawa. Here's the PNC Bank. Here's just a photo, just so that it depicts the area, so everyone's on the same page. So the Wawa concept is a viable concept. We've done a lot of research. We work with Wawa Corp. We're currently doing a project with Wawa right now in the city of Orange. It's a very similar site. It's a little bit smaller. And we're currently working with Wawa in the city of Orange to finalize the project. The project is slated to commence the summer of 2021. And it's basically the same concept. It's going to be a 5,000 square foot convenience with fueling stations. We understand that Wawa is a good use for a site of this nature. It's something which I think a lot of people enjoy Wawa. They understand that Wawa is a very good operator of their establishment. We all understand Wawa and what they bring. We know that their site and their location and their property is always well maintained, and they are very sensitive to the community. I know community is a huge issue. I know the community has a lot to say, and that's the way government ought to work. The citizens of the community should have a say in what happens within their municipality. Wawa, I can tell you from my point of view, from being in Old Bridge, we currently have 4 Wawas in Old Bridge, and they're all in different locations. One is on Route 18, one's on Route 34, one is on Route 527, which is Englishtown Road, and we have another one on Route 9. And I can tell you, Wawa is a big part of the community. People need to understand that Wawa is just not an operator of a gas station convenience center. They are a partner. They collaborate with the municipality. They give a tremendous amount of time and energy and money to philanthropic causes within different locales. I can tell you, with the Board of Education, they have made a tremendous impact with our students and in our programs by donating. And also, as a first responder, they have always embraced the fire departments, the police departments, and the emergency medical services by giving and working with them closely. Wawa is a tenant who is looking to move into your general area. We did show them the location. They are very pleased with the possibilities. They're willing to work with the municipal council and the mayor and the public to have a feasibility study done to see if this would work. We as a developer don't run from issues. We're always engaged with the municipality. We feel that collaboratively, public and private will work for the betterment of the community. And I can tell you with much certainty that if you speak to the mayors and council members of the 23 municipalities that we currently serve, they will tell you that Paramount Assets stands by our development and also our tenants. And that's something that's very important, because working together is the best solution for a lot of issues. And yes, especially when you have a sensitive situation like a Wawa, there's going to be, some concerns, whether it be, the operating hours, things of that nature, but we have such a relationship with them. We're able to work through all kinds of issues and be that conduit to ensure that they don't become a nuisance and that they are a legitimate standing operator within River Edge. At this point, is there any questions before I continue?
Any member of council wish to ask a question? So why don't you continue, Mr. Dunn, and we'll certainly have questions near the end, I'm sure.
No problem. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So basically, we all understand how Wawa concept works. They're a 24/7 operator of a convenience fueling station. They are one of the better operators, I think in my eyes, the best operator of these type of real estate locations because of their way that they conduct their business. They ensure that their property is always clean. They ensure that the quality of the products they serve is of the finest quality, and also they're environmentally safe because obviously they are dealing with gasoline, and gasoline can become a nuisance. But I can tell you unequivocally, based upon my knowledge of working with them, and you can do all the research, you'll see that they are very sensitive to environmental and also all kinds of other concerns that may arise from their use. As you can see on the screen right now, they are proposing a 5,000 square foot convenience. It is their prototypical convenience center. They will, of course, have their fresh made sandwich section. They will have the coffee, the beverage coolers. They will have a variety of other items which they do serve. Of course, they have bathroom facilities, things of that nature. This is their prototypical. There's a couple of revisions that we can make based upon the flavor and desire of a municipality. There is some leeway there concerning what they do. Also, you can see that their canopy is something which can be adjusted. It's not necessarily the slant height, but they're open to different ways of making the site work for one's town. They will have roughly 6 fueling stations at this location, possibly. Now, these are concepts. There's no construction drawings, obviously. There's nothing here other than concepts right now based upon the location at 915. Let me go back one slide. And as you can see on this particular slide, it would show and depict the location of the commercial of the convenience aspect, which is the 5,000 that will be right in the middle. As you can see, in this general area is the convenience, and they have their concrete island, the concrete pad around for parking, and then here is where they'll have their fuel pumps. Obviously, the corner here is East Midland on the top. I believe this is Spring Valley, and I believe that this is going to be Bloomfield Avenue. Obviously, the site is recessed lower than the residential homes that are above on the hill, and they are very sensitive with any kind of light spillage, and they make sure that they have the proper deflectors and the looms controlled so that there's no issues. Again, this is something which we're just proposing. I know that the site has been underutilized for many, many years. It's unfortunate that the PNC Bank is moving, and the location will be vacant come the next 3 or 4 months. I'm not sure, what kind of questions you have, but we are ready to answer any and all questions from the Borough Council to the public, Mr. Mayor.
No problem. But before we do that, Mr. Chakowski, would you speak to this concept just briefly? What is the zoning currently? What sort of accommodations would Paramount Assets be looking from the council, from the zoning board, so that all of that is out for consideration at this time?
All right, based upon our preliminary analysis, Mayor, I guess we've reviewed this previously with Mr. Costa, Mr. Behrens. The zoning on this site would permit the use. So it's a permitted use. My understanding, based upon various concepts that we have seen, and again, this is a concept plan, there may be some relief that may be required from the board as part of a site plan approval regarding this particular use. We've seen plans where a building may or may not remain, but it appears that Wawa will now be, or the proposed Wawa would utilize the entire site, but it is a permitted use.
All right, so having heard from our land use attorney, Mr. Barron, our zoning officer, planning officer, could you speak to the council about any details you think they need to be aware of at this time?
Sure, good evening. As Mr. Chakowski mentioned, it would be permitted use in the C1 zone. I'm just going to offer, I guess, a few comments and issues for consideration. I agree that the site is underutilized. We had been looking at a number of concepts, and this is the one the developer is bringing forth to the council. It was noted that the proposed Wawa, like most other Wawas, are a 24/7 operation, require a number of typical food deliveries and gas or fuel deliveries throughout, the day as needed. Obviously, there are existing single-family homes to the west above the hill or cliff. It seems that the proposed development would essentially require some excavation to the property line limit. So where you currently have some slope and trees, that would likely be removed with a retaining wall of some height. And, I would imagine there'd be some level of impact or perceived impact to those residents moving forward. I would have a question about, there would need to be a traffic study for this development in terms of the volumes of, deliveries and trucks, as well as, pedestrian vehicles and the types of turning movements into and out of the site on Kinderkamak Road. The site, as was mentioned, is located just south of the intersection with Midland Avenue. I think Wawa typically has some signage on their sites that typically would not comply with the borough's sign ordinance. So that would likely require some level of variance relief. Again, this is just the concept phase, but I imagine that would be part of it, having been part of Wawa applications in other municipalities. So other than that, those are my comments, my concerns at the moment. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Mr. Sarlo is our borough attorney. Mr. Sarlo, if you could address this issue also.
Thank you. Tom, you indicated this was in the C1 zone?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
C1 commercial.
My experience is Wawa usually wants to operate 24 hours a day. Our ordinance 152-4 only allows 24-hour operations in a C2 zone. Would that be an issue?
Mr. Dunn?
Well, I again, like I said, this is a concept at this point, and we can go back to Wawa and speak with them. I know 24/7 is a big part of their business plan and their offering. However, they have been amenable to possibly alter their hours based upon the desirability of the location. I know that dealing with them, they have offered that in other municipalities, and I'm sure if we had a dialogue with them, if this is something that the borough council and the mayor and the public want to pursue, then we would be more than happy to have that dialogue with them.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there because I know they go 24/7, and the ordinance allows from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. unless the zoning board or planning board makes it more restrictive, whichever is more restrictive. So it would be a 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. in that zone, unless the mayor and council chose to amend that ordinance. But now you're talking about allowing it in the whole C1 zone. It abuts residential. It comes into other issues. So that may be a conversation you want to have with Wawa about the hours of operation.
We will certainly do, Mr. Sarlo, and again, they are amenable and definitely they will consider it. And I think that obviously, that's the decision that the borough council and the mayor will have to make, and along with Wawa. But we will definitely have that considered by them. And I think that they are still very excited about the prospects of this location.
Okay,
So
thank you.
before I open it up to council, is there any other questions or comments that our professionals would like to make?
None from me, Mayor.
Okay, so Mr. Dunn and Mr. Alicio had approached our professionals and myself. They came to us as the owners of the property They had presented several different concepts. I reached out to the council for just some thoughts on it. And then we shared that back through Mr. Chakowski, that there were other options we thought other than the three that they brought forward. Wawa was one of them. Then they reached back for the public's benefit and council's benefit and said that they wanted to have another conversation, and that they thought the Wawa was something that they wanted to move forward with. Of course, it's a permitted use, and if it's a permitted use, then it's a permitted use. So and they thought they would have another conversation with the professionals and me, but at that time I thought we really already shared the council's, we took the temperature of the council, and I thought at this point we should, that it would be counterproductive to have another closed session conversation, not really closed session in the legal term, but and that it should be brought to the open for the public to discuss as well as the council. So this is, their presentation is not an endorsement. We are not endorsing their concept, nor are we at this point denying their concept. We are simply listening to a business owner property owner who would like to talk to us about what those ideas are. So for the public's understanding, this has not come forward as the council saying we want this, nor is the council saying we don't want this at this point. This is a second level of testing the temperature of the municipality with this particular concept. So having put that in context, that this is something that Paramount Assets wanted to have a discussion with, I'll open it up to the council. I normally do this by seniority. Council President Kanigo, did you have any comments or thoughts? And the only reason I'm for the public's understanding and for Paramount Assets, remotely, it's kind of hard for us all to kind of randomly enter the conversation. So normally what I do is I start with the council president and then work through seniority. Council President Kanigo, do you have any questions, comments, or thoughts?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank you, Paramount Assets, and Mr. Dunn and Mr. Alesso for this presentation. I appreciate you coming to us and taking our pulse. I certainly hope that location gets developed into something that is a boon to our community. And from what you've said, it sounds to me like putting a Wawa there might be such a boon to our community. Every time I've had an experience of going into a Wawa, more often than not in the LBI area, South Jersey, down there, it's always been a positive experience. I found them to be clean. I found their people that they staff the locations with always to be very polite, and I've never had a negative experience. So without in any way endorsing it at this early stage, this is really the first that we as a council have heard of this. And I think, as Mr. Barron said, we certainly need a traffic study in that area. We certainly want to hear from the community now and going forward. I'm certainly cautiously optimistic, and I thank you for this early presentation and giving us the opportunity to chime in. And of course, I want to hear what our residents, I see that there are some people here I assume are going to be speaking on this. I want to hear what they say. And of course, our land use board will have to chime in on a whole range of issues. But I appreciate you coming to us. So thank you.
Councilwoman Bastide.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to the representatives from Paramount for joining us tonight to share the conceptual ideas regarding a possible Wawa in our community. I echo what Council President Kanigo has said regarding my experiences with the Wawa are very similar. And our responsibility is to balance the economic needs of our borough along with what our concerns are for our residents to preserve their quality of life. I couldn't agree more about a traffic study. I'd also like to just add some questions, or I don't want to call them concerns at this point because we don't have enough information yet, but the idea of a fueling service as part of this project, to me, in my uneducated self on this matter, is the environmental impact that comes with that both now and in the future to our borough, as well as the risks to the residents and the homes around the area of having such a service. So I would want to learn more about that from our professionals as we move forward with this process. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilman Gordier.
Thank you, Mayor, and I would also like to thank the representatives from Paramount. I have one question. Would the business be willing to accept food deliveries when it would not impact the quality of life of the residents around the business?
Councilman, yes, they have been always amenable to adjusting their schedule accordingly based upon non-peak hours. They have been doing this for a very long time. They understand the sensitivities and the concerns. So yes, they would definitely alter delivery schedules so that's during off-peak or non-busy times within the Kinnickinnic Road area.
Thank you. That's all, Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome, Councilman Gordier. Councilwoman Kaufman.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to Paramount for coming tonight. In my opinion, I don't really see that this would add value to the town because we already have 2 7-Elevens in town. There are 2 gas stations on Midland Avenue on the way to Route 17 already. So there's plenty of opportunity for people to get gas on the way to Route 17. There's also a 7-Eleven on Midland, and there is also a deli on Midland. So there's plenty of opportunity to get food there as well. So those are my thoughts.
Okay, Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I thank you to Paramount Assets for presenting this detailed presentation. I also want to echo Councilwoman Bastide's concern about the fueling station and the environmental impact. I would also like to hear from the community as a whole, especially those houses that are adjacent to the where the proposed fueling station would be. I also was going to raise the same concern Councilwoman Kaufman raised with the value of another similar business to a 7-Eleven in such close proximity in the same road. That being said, with the traffic study, it's we still need to learn a little bit more about the traffic study and the environmental impact. But my major concern is actually that the value that it will bring to town, given the other similar business in close proximity to where this location is.
Okay, Councilwoman Kinsella.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Paramount, for your presentation. We really appreciate it. I also echo the thoughts of President Canigo and Councilwoman Bastide. I just have a general question regarding the fueling stations. Has there been any consideration for having a charging station for a possible electric vehicle?
Councilwoman, yes, they would definitely put charging stations. That's part of the new concept. They do put charging stations out, for electric vehicles. So that shouldn't be a problem at all.
Thank you.
Okay, so at this point, Mr. Dunn and Mr. Alessio, we could have you respond to some of those concerns, and you may if you wish. But I might suggest to you, and I'm leaving it up to you, that we can go to item number 8, which is public comments on any item of the agenda. And you may want to finish your presentation before that, or I would allow you to finish your presentation after that if you like. That way, if you choose, the public could chime in on this item since it's on the agenda or any other item. So Mr. Dunn, Mr. Alessio, would you like to conclude your presentation now, or would you kind of like to wait and truncate it until we see if there's any comments from the public, or both? Would you like to make some comments now? And then if you wish, you can hang around, and then you may or may not wish to answer some of the questions from the public. So gentlemen, what would be your preference?
Mr. Mayor, Joe Alessio speaking. We would love to hear you go into your open comments from the public. We'd like to listen. And if there's an opportunity when you're done, we'd like to jump back in and close our presentation. I think it's very important for you and the borough of River Edge to understand that we want to be a partner. We're not a developer who's going to come in, develop something and run away. We're going to be here. We're going to own this property. And it's important for us to be a good neighbor and a good friend to the city, to the borough. So we'd like to encourage public support, council support of our project. We would prefer it to be a 24-hour operation. But as Mr. Dunn had commented, we will go back to Wawa and see if that's something that they could change. But I think it's important that that everyone understands we want to be a partner. We don't want to waste anyone's time. If this is not an application that you're interested in, we understand that, and we'll go back to the drawing boards and try to do something else. We just believe that this is a good use. Wawa has done a lot of marketing. We've advanced very quickly and far with them based upon the fact that they've done marketing data, and they believe that this is a very good fit for River Edge and for them as a corporation. So with that said, Mr. Mayor, I'll turn it over to you and the public, and we'll listen.
Okay, so I also want to assure the public, this was an initial conversation, public conversation. There was an initial private conversation. There will be more conversations that we on the council want the public to offer their opinions. We will hear you, and we will certainly take into account in our deliberations. I just want to remind the public also, this is a permitted use. There are issues that the Land Use Board does need to address, but this is a permitted use. And secondly, that we are very sensitive to the 24-hour nature that came up on the 7-Elevens. We also, I want the public to understand that we know that we already have 2 7-Elevens and a Dunkin' Donuts. So we are aware of that too. So we're taking all of this and we're doing it in the most transparent manner as possible. So we have Mr. Dunn and Mr. Alessio representing private business, and we are hearing what they have to say, as well as we're hearing what you have to say. So could I have Councilwoman Montesano Cohen move and Councilwoman Kinsella second to open to the public on any item on the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastido.
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo.
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier.
Yes.
Kaufman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
And Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
All right, we are now open to the public. We will allow our Councilwoman Kaufman to moderate this portion since we are in remote.
So if anyone wishes to speak, just raise your hand and I will allow you to do so, or you can type a question in the chat box. Does not look like anyone has a question.
All right, so what I'm going to do is for a motion second to close the public, and then I'm going to see if Mr. Enzavino or Mr. Costa have any comments from their particular areas of expertise. And then after, if they wish to speak, after they speak, then we'll return to Mr. Alessio and Mr. Dunn. So could I have Councilwoman Bastide move and Councilman Gaudier second to close the public?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Bastido.
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo.
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier.
Yes.
Kaufman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Lisa? I think she's
Yes.
from, oh yeah, there she is. Very, very good. So Mr. Jim Enzavino, Mr. Enzavino, do you have any comments you'd like to offer? You can, if you wish.
Yes, Mayor, just, excuse me, just a couple comments. I am very familiar with the Wawa on River Street in Hackensack. And just to give you an idea, the equalized value on that property is about $3.5 million. So, and what we're looking at here, the equalized value of this building, once it's completed, will be roughly the same. So the good news is you won't be, you know, losing anything in taxes, and you'll probably gain some. Now, why is that important? Because currently, if the property is undeveloped or not utilized to its highest use, you'll be seeing an appeal from the property, and you're going to see less of a value placed on the building. So basically, the worst case scenario we'll be coming out with is a net zero. It will probably be a few $1,000s to the good. And again, this is just kind of like taking the best case and the worst case scenario. It looks like this is somewhere in the vicinity of $500 a square foot, which is roughly what all the standalone Starbucks and those properties are basically market value and assessed for. So it's solid rateable. I'd be curious to see what the lease arrangements will be, because that will help us determine the final value.
All right.
Anybody has any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Enzavino? All right, Mr. Costa, any comments?
Good evening, Mayor. How are you? Good evening, everybody. Just to echo, I think what Brian said and what Tom said earlier is, you know, right now you have a concept. So I guess you're on a county road, you're going to need county approval. The county is probably going to limit turning movements in and out of the site. They might require widening at some point to come in and out of the site. You have houses in the back. We have buffering requirements under the in the ordinance itself because it's residential to commercial. You have height restrictions. I know you said the canopy or whatever. I'm not sure exactly how tall that is. And then you got to make sure that the traffic circulation on site works, because you're going to have fuel delivery, food delivery. So you're going to have possibly trailers. You're going to have large vehicles. You're going to have pedestrians. You got to make sure all of that stuff works. And again, I'm not sure why you're in front of the mayor and council. And again, I know you made a presentation here, but if it's a permitted use, you would do all of this in front of the planning board, and the planning board is autonomous from the mayor and council. I didn't know if you were trying to do a zone change or some other reason why you were here. But again, maybe Brian could answer that better than me. But other than that, it would go to the planning board, and then the planning board would deal with obviously all of those matters.
Mr. Chakowski, do you wish to address Mr. Costa's comments or not? I think he might be frozen.
Yeah, certainly, Mayor, you can have presentations to the governing body. The presentation you received was, you know, not too often that you get them, because this is a property owner that wanted to advise the governing body as to, you know, what it's looking to do, and to try to get some feedback. As Mr. Costa indicated, you know, there are a number of hurdles here that have to be overcome, but nothing prevents this applicant from going to the board and making a request for the use as is proposed. This was to get the feeling of the municipality.
Yes, I agree. And that's what I thought would be good, so that we could see where the public was, do a presentation so the entire council could see the ideas of Mr. Alessio, Mr. Dunn from Paramount Assets. All right, at this point, Mr. Dunn, Mr. Alessio, we're going to let you wrap it up. And I want to say, we really appreciate you making this presentation, taking this time. We want to be business friendly. We want to be resident friendly and sensitive, and we're balancing these two, and you are helping us do that. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Joseph Alesso again, speaking on behalf of Paramount. Thank you and the council and your professionals. We really appreciate the opportunity. It's our history. I've been doing development now for Paramount for the last 7 years, and it's our history that we're not a fly-by-night organization that pops in, buys a piece of land, develops it, and runs away. We keep our land, and we become part of the fabric of the community. it's very important. I think Mr. Costa asked the question. We understand that we have to go to the land use boards for the approval, but it's very important to us not to waste anyone's time. We don't want to waste the township's time, the public's time, or the land use board's time. They're volunteers. I get it. We know that it's very important for us to do something here that's special and that will benefit both Paramount and the community. So we don't want to waste anyone's time. If a Wawa is dead on arrival and for us to go through the land use board and not achieve success, we wasted everybody's time. We're better off going back to the drawing boards and working on finding another tenant for the building. Our concern is that, we put a lot of fielders out over the last 6 months, and we don't really seem to have a very strong interest in the property, except for Wawa, who has advanced their lease to the point where once we're telling them that we're ready to go, they're ready to go. So we're really just here tonight for transparency, which I think the mayor said earlier. Just want to let the public know what we're doing. We don't want to have a site application. Land use law only allows a 10-day notice. I don't think that's enough time for the public to know that we're going to be coming before a land use board with a Wawa. So this we felt was just a really good first step to introduce it to the community, introduce it to the governing body. And, we'll go back with some of the concerns that, we can answer those now, but I don't know that that's appropriate. I think it's better for us to go back. And, what I'm going to encourage the company to do is to do a forum, a public forum for we'll advertise it. We'll invite all the neighbors. I know COVID makes it a little difficult, so maybe we'll do it via Zoom, and we'll make a presentation to all those people who maybe don't normally come to your council meetings, so that they'll have an opportunity to hear what we're doing and give us comment. And if we find that people just really don't want the Wawa and don't want 24/7, we're not going to fight. We're not going to fight to make that happen. That's not our methodology, and our success is built on partnership. And partners have to have two partners. So it has to be a win-win for both of us. And if it's not, we'll try something else. So I thank you so much. I'm going to flip it over to Rich if he has any final comments. And again, I really, really appreciate your time. This is very valuable. Thank you.
You're welcome. Rich.
Thank you. As Joe said, we don't want to waste anyone's time. And I jotted down all the issues that were brought to our attention by the Honorable Council. I have delivery times is a big concern. We got the traffic study is a concern, environmental, and operating hours, and the impact to the adjacent residents. And we will go back and get those answers. We will make sure that we come back to the council and give you those answers, because like Joe said, we want to work as a partner. We're not here to twist arms. Obviously, we're very experienced in this, and we understand that it's a partnership. And I think by working together, we get results. My opinion and what I've seen over the years is when public and private work together, everyone benefits. And I do want to sincerely thank the mayor and the borough council for taking time out of their busy day to listen to our proposal. And this is a good start. We don't want to waste your time. We want to be transparent as possible. And this is what we bring to the table. My cell phone, Joe's cell phone, we're always accessible 24/7. And this is how we present ourselves, because it is a relationship, and building a relationship means trust. And when we have trust, we can overcome any obstacle. So with that said, again, Mr. Mayor, the Honorable Council, we really appreciate your time today. We will definitely answer those questions in the very near future. And then, like Joe said, we will do community outreach. We will go out and feel the pulse of the neighborhood. And maybe we can do something together. We can invite some of the council people who are the representation for that area. We can get a school, we can, lease some space, or we can do it Zoom based upon the circumstances that we're under right now with COVID. And we can definitely do the outreach that will benefit everyone. Again, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Thank you, Mr. Alesso. And we look forward to hearing from you in the future.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. Good night.
You're welcome. Good night. I'm looking at the agenda, and I think we have all the professionals here. I don't think we need all of our professionals for the public hearing on the trust grant fund, but it would be good to have our professionals here for the outdoor dining ordinance. So without objection, I'm going to move the outdoor dining ordinance forward. We have invited several of our restaurant owners to come and speak to us about what they would be looking for. But if Mr. Bering and Mr. Chakowski can set the stage for what might be possible with what we're hoping to do, what we'd like to do is to change our ordinance in such a way that we could have outdoor dining to a greater extent, maybe with tents, maybe not, for every summer. Because I know a lot of our restaurant owners have invested a tremendous amount of money in tents, and it's been very successful. And so far, it's been very safe. So if we could set the stage, Mr. Bering, Mr. Chakowski, you could set the stage for what would be within the range of possibility. And then if we could have our restaurant owners speak to what they think they would like to see. And just because what you look to see is not mentioned by Mr. Chakowski or Mr. Bering, I don't want you to feel that you should mention it, because creative ideas sometimes find creative solutions. Mr. Bering, if you could, if it's possible, if you could, and Mr. Sarlo too, if you could just talk to the issue of an ordinance change for a summer outdoor dining extension.
Sure. Good evening. This is Tom Behrens, Borough Planner with Burgess Associates. So being familiar with the issue, I'll give a few comments about it. So I thought we'd start with how the borough currently regulates outdoor dining. And so at the moment, the borough has what's known as its sidewalk cafe ordinance, that is chapter 348. And what that does, it permits restaurants in certain locations to allow for a limited number of outdoor dining, basically between the building front and the curb. The ordinance itself is somewhat contradictory, and I think would by itself would need to be amended in some fashion, but it's also probably limiting to the extent that it wouldn't satisfy the restaurants and what they're looking for today. So I think the borough would need to look for a new approach in terms of permitting outdoor dining, and most of the opportunities would likely occur on private property as opposed to on a public sidewalk. There really aren't any opportunities to provide sidewalk cafe dining, between a building and Kindercamack Road where you have a sidewalk width of, let's say, 4 or 8 feet. So for instance, a number of restaurants have taken advantage of the borough's current temporary COVID outdoor dining opportunity. I know Sanducci's has done so, the River Edge Diner, Killam Mediterranean, and Feathers have all had temporary outdoor dining situations, and most of them occur in existing parking areas. So in terms of preparing an ordinance moving forward to allow for, I guess it would be summer outdoor dining only, or between, let's say, May and October, whatever the case may be, you'd probably be looking at something substantially similar to the temporary outdoor dining ordinance or resolution that the borough passed for the COVID situation. And so there'd be a question of parking requirements. There would be a question of, screening, whether or not you would allow tents, signage, hours of operation, et cetera. But I imagine that ordinance would function a lot similar to the way the current COVID temporary outdoor dining ordinance functions. And in general, we prepared an overview memorandum dated May 6th that touches on a number of issues. And one issue that stands out is just how the borough regulates restaurants and restaurant parking requirements in general, and that this should probably be looked at in order to decide, which types of uses should have outdoor dining in general, whether it's year-round or temporary.
All right, excellent.
So thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Chakowski, would you like to offer some comments? If you don't, that's okay.
Yes, I'll echo exactly what Mr. Behrens has indicated. I mean, I look at this as that if you're looking for some form of permanence on outdoor dining, it's an amendment to the zoning ordinance. The issues that you have, as I see it, predominantly are parking and location. And by location, I mean, where do you permit this for a safe and efficient operation? There are limitations with a lot of the restaurant properties, but it's something to be encouraged. If you take a cue from most of, or including River Edge's outdoor dining provisions. Most towns do not say or do not provide for an increase in parking requirements by providing outdoor dining because they see that as an option for the patron, not in addition to the indoor dining. So those are the considerations. Typically, when we review these matters, we're more concerned with A, the safety, and B, the quality of life. What is the impact if you sacrifice parking for outdoor dining? Is there available parking on the street or elsewhere that wouldn't have any significant impact on the community?
Excellent. Thank you both. Mr. Sarlo, any comments at this time?
Mayor, I'll prepare a quick, another memo just on the actual ordinance that you have right now. It is a very restrictive ordinance, doesn't allow any dining in the public right of way. That is something that you'd have to consider. It's only limited to 2 seat tables right now. It has a lot of very good security features in there, which I would be hesitant to recommend getting rid of security features on a permanent basis. Yeah, it's certainly something to look at, but your ordinance is the way it was constructed is restrictive, and it's probably not very conducive to the to all of the restaurants in town. It probably only works right now.
Mr. Sarlo, we lost you there. You fell off.
I just said your current ordinance right now probably only works for a certain percentage of your residents, your restaurants. It doesn't work for all of the restaurants right now in its current form.
All right. Could if any of our restaurant owners would like to speak, if you could raise your hand, and Mr. Del Miglio, I'm sorry if I say your name incorrectly. Feel free to unmute yourself and well, actually, we have to open to the public. Could I have a motion from Councilwoman Kaufman and a second from Councilwoman Montesano Cohen to open to the public on this issue?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Councilman Kenigo,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
and Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Mr. And Mrs. I assume D. Maliglio, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, you can unmute yourself and share your thoughts. Share with us what you're hoping for.
Hi, my name is Anthony DeMiglio, and this is my wife, Lisa. Can you hear us?
Yes, I also need an address for the record because that's the procedure.
The address of the business?
You can use the business or you can use your home address.
The business is 620 Kinderkamak Road, River Edge, obviously.
Okay.
And I know one of the biggest concerns for the mayor and council is the parking issue. But what I wanted to say to that is usually in the summertime, business drops off because people go on vacation. On the weekends, a lot of people head down the shore. But last year, it was a huge boost for us. People just love sitting outside. I know ourselves, when we go out for dinner, we look for a place in the summertime. We look for a place where you can go outside to eat. So we had a lot of positive feedback last year. So what's going to happen is it reduces the amount of people that go indoors to eat and increases outside. Basically, so that's where I don't see it being a parking issue. It's not like if we were filling up inside and filling up under the tent, then it could be a parking issue. But that's not the case in the summertime when the weather gets nice.
I would have to agree with that strongly. I've noticed that River Edge kind of empties out July, August. And I have to tell you simply anecdotally that I also know that. Anything else that you'd like to add and you can speak again. You don't have to think this is your one chance and that's it.
Yeah, one of the things that I would like to say too, also with the COVID regulations, I feel like a lot of the public is being misled on the opening. They're saying they're like lifting some of the restrictions for restaurants. But if you really look at the whole picture of that, for us in particular, restaurants still have to follow a 6 feet distancing rule inside the restaurant. So for us, we're currently at 50% inside our restaurant, and we're going to remain at 50% because with 6 foot distancing, we can't add not one table. So really, we have 50% inside, and our other 50% is outside, which if you combine both what we see right now, it's just about what the restaurant inside would be. So parking for us, I feel, hasn't really changed because our seats have remained the same. They're just half outside, half inside.
We haven't been able to increase on the 50% because of the 6 foot distancing that we have to keep the patrons at.
I think that's an excellent point. I'd like to, just for the public's benefit, for your benefit, and for the record, council has already approved that we're going to maintain this emergency outdoor dining through October 31st. So we're pretty much guaranteed to stay the way we are through October 31st. What we're right now trying to do is, because then the emergency resolution would end, and we want to create something for next year that is something you want, what you and the other restaurant owners would like, within, public safety and parking limitations. But I agree with you wholeheartedly that during the summer, River Edge does empty out. And so the parking issue is not, in my opinion, and just my opinion, not as a mayor, but as a citizen, as a resident, doesn't seem to be as crucial. But that, of course, will the council have to consider that, and maybe the land use board might have to consider that. And Mr. Chakowski, Mr. Barings, Mr. Sarlo, Mr. Costa would all have to weigh in on that. So I think your points are good. Anything else before we call on someone else who might be here?
I'm good for now.
All right. Councilwoman Kaufman, I have a limited screen. Do you see other hands up?
I do not. If anyone does want to ask a question, please raise your hand. But I do not at this time.
Yeah, or make a statement or a comment. Any of our other restaurant owners who might be here tonight who would like to chime in, that would be great.
Yeah.
And at this point, if you just want to speak out, that would be okay too, if you're unmuted. All right. Mr. Costa, is there anything you'd like to share? I didn't call on you in the first, before the DiMiliglios spoke.
No, that's okay, Mayor. I think, obviously, I agree certainly with Tony and Lisa and yourself. People definitely like to dine outside. And again, these restaurants have struggled for many months. And a lot of them, it's amazing that they're still open, quite frankly. So I think the council and maybe Tom, Brian, both Toms, actually, yourself, the council, come up with something to make this work. Because I think the public wants it. And the question is just how do you do it safely, number one? How do you keep everything going? How do you keep the restaurants in business? And I think it's a necessary thing. So I think the council needs to work on this and somehow, some way, allow this to continue and happen. Not just that, once the COVID rules are finished and COVID is done with, hopefully once and for all, that we get our life back together. But I think people really enjoy it, and I think it's a positive for the restaurants. I think it's a positive for the public even that dine out. So with that, let's work closely and get it done somehow, some way. Get it done. I think absolutely is necessary.
Great. So at this point, this is less of a formal sort of thing like in our previous presentation. Does any member of council wish to offer a comment at this time? Just so you know, I'm going to, if it's appropriate, I'm going to ask Mr. Barings, Mr. Sarlo, and Mr. Chakowski to maybe come up with a couple of drafts or a couple of ideas that could be brought for the council that would be viable. Councilman Gaudier.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to say, I would just like to reiterate what a hard time many of these businesses have had over the past year due to the pandemic. And I absolutely agree with Mr. Costa and everything he said. I would like to be as business friendly as possible in this situation because, you know, we need to help out our small businesses. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Councilwoman Bastide.
Thank you. I raised my hand.
I saw, I love that. That helped a lot.
So I just would like to, while the D'Amiglios are here, I'm a huge fan of Santucci's. We've been going there for well over 20 years. And other restaurants in town, you know, they've really been the economic backbone of survival, I think, during COVID in our community. And they're primarily independently owned. And they should be applauded for their hard work in keeping things going. And I wholeheartedly agree with Mr. Costa that we should do everything we can, that once the COVID regulations are over, that we should provide an ongoing opportunity for outdoor dining. I would even like my fellow council people to consider extending the deadline for this year through possibly November 15th. I think we have some beautiful days in November, and we know that our residents have embraced outdoor dining. So perhaps at the conclusion of this, we can entertain extending to November 15th.
Okay. Any other member of council would like to offer a comment?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Council President.
Thank you. I'm fully in support of redoing the ordinance and allowing outdoor dining. I just want to point out that these are two different conversations we're having. Of course, we've seen all our restaurants struggle, and I think we as a town have done everything possible to help you during this time. We've put this temporary ordinance into place, and we've extended it through the year, and I have no problem with extending it and so forth. However, what we're talking about here is once we hopefully as a country, as a society, as a state, and as a borough come back to normalcy. And it is with that thought in mind that I'd like to hear a little more from Mr. Sarlo about what the safety concerns are that he said would hesitate to get rid of, because I'm not quite sure what it is that we're talking about in general. Of course, we're talking about extending this outdoor dining, but why is it that in the first place it wasn't allowed? There must be something behind it that we need to explore. I don't want to just make promises that we can't keep. If once COVID is out of the picture and we return to normalcy, it comes to light that there is some very serious underlying concerns that we were able to set aside during COVID because of the fact that not many people were going outside. Once the public returns to the outside, once full traffic comes on Kinderkamak and the roads that most of the restaurants are located on that are main roadways, you know, what is it that we're actually being asked to get rid of that might end up harming us rather than helping us, with all due respect to the restaurants, which I'm also a very big fan of, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, I'm just going to chime in. I'm going to just for a second, then I'm going to let Mr. Sarlo speak if no other member of council wishes to. I was on the council when Councilwoman Murphy did a great job of bringing this idea of outdoor dining. But we as a council had never done it before. And so we were being extremely conservative. And when this ordinance was, when this change was crafted, and when we had our 2 hearings, we had said that we would hopefully come back and maybe offer more latitude. We never did because there was never really a request from our businesses to do so. So I wanted to share that as someone who actually was there and voted on it and was part of that history. Any other council member or professional wish to chime in before I go to Mr. Sarlo?
I think you've given a good overview of what that original crafting of the legislation was, Tom. Thank you.
Welcome. Mr. Sarlo, if you could address some of Councilman Kanigo's concerns about the safety issues.
Yeah, when the ordinance was drafted, the security regulations or the security requirements was in consultation with your police department. And they had a lot of input on the what should and shouldn't go through. And if I could recall, their concerns obviously was parking or vehicles in close proximity to people dining. And that's why your ordinance, the way it is written, is that there should be no outdoor dining less than 8 feet from a driveway or a parking area. And then it has also, unless the applicant installs protective bollards about cars parking right near there, and obviously a car losing control and going right through a tent. So that was a very big thing with, you change the ordinance, you just have to keep it in the back of your mind. You obviously want to protect the diners. You want to increase it, but you want to make sure they're safe and have the protective barriers in place that are approved by your building department or your police department to protect those diners. So the security concerns about no dining in the parking area, no dining 8 feet from a driveway, was all recommended by the police department at that time.
Council President?
Yeah, look, like I said, I'm all for it, and I love the idea of dining outside. I've always liked it. I mean, so it's not that I'm trying to throw up a roadblock, but I certainly think that we need to listen to our police department. You know, as an attorney who works in this venue, I can see a lot of issues with, once the traffic starts increasing, possible tragic disasters that could occur if you have diners within just a few feet of a roadway that moves fast without some sort of protection, with bollards, whatever they may be. So certainly I think we have to have our police chime in, but as long as our professionals are satisfied with whatever it is that we come up with, and the police is satisfied, and I would imagine that we have to get some word from our fire department and fire professionals as well. You know, I'm eager to you know, make this permanent.
All right. I'd like to just end with a few comments. Our police department had several years back when we addressed this first, they had no experience with this in town. I'm not saying that they would be less stringent, but I think it's been very successful. And I think we absolutely have to consult our police department, fire department, Mr. Enzio, our JIF insurance, joint insurance fund agent. So, but I think our experience goes a long way into perhaps giving us some more leeway than we felt as a council so many years back. And so we are at the end of this portion of it. Council, Mr. Sarlo, what would be our procedure to move from October 31st to November 15th, if the council so wishes?
Mayor, we can have a resolution on for the next council meeting for you guys to extending it to November 15th. We'll draft a resolution extending it.
Excellent. So is there any objection? Is there objection to a resolution being created for November 15th for the next meeting? Is there objection?
Mr. Mayor, if we're extending it anyway, why not just extend it to the end of the year? If the weather permits, it'll go to the end of the year. We haven't been getting a lot of snow in December. It typically really starts hitting us in late January and goes through March the past few years. So let's just extend it to the end of the year. And if they can keep going, then we'll give them the opportunity to keep going. Why limit ourselves?
All right, Councilman Bastide, are you that's an amendment to your proposal? Are you comfortable with that?
Absolutely. Let the restaurants decide how long they want to take advantage of the outdoor dining.
Excellent. So without objection, a resolution will be drafted for the next meeting. Is there objection? Hearing none, so moved. All right, Lisa, Tony, thanks for coming. I really appreciate what you've had to share with us. Anyone else who might be present, who maybe chose not to speak, that's fine too. I'd like to thank our professionals. The next item on the agenda is the public hearing on the trust grant fund. So if you do not need to stay, we thank you for being here tonight, and let us move forward to our next item on the agenda. Ms. Apratella, should we read this? Should you speak to it before we open to the public, or should we open to the public and then you speak to it? Which would you like to do?
First, we would need to speak to it so we could explain to the public what the purpose of the grant is. And as noted in the advertisement, the borough is submitting a grant application to the Bergen County Open Space Trust Fund for a municipal park improvement for an outdoor fitness court. This was recommended by the Recreation Director, as it was part of the commission's plan since 2018. So I will defer to Mrs. Baldanza to speak on this project.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you. So as a way to expand on wellness and a wellness initiative, the commission has been talking since, actually it was a little prior to my getting to the borough, but in 2018, we started research on doing an outdoor exercise equipment. And through our research, we came across the National Fitness Campaign, which they have a wonderful partnership that I think is a great opportunity for us because it lends more assistance in making this a real initiative ongoing out, in addition to just a beautiful equipment. So they have, within the partnership, they help you get started with the plans. They help with marketing. They also have an app that you can learn exercises with. You could have classes. It shows you how to do the moves. They have workouts available on. They also help us train ambassadors for the courts so that we will able to have programs held at the courts where we can generate some income on some exercise classes for the community. And they do help with a opening of the court, in addition with promotion and PR as well. So it does sound like a wonderful opportunity, and it will help increase wellness in our community. As we know, everyone's kind of looking to do more things outdoors. So this is a great opportunity to keep our community healthy and active and have an outlet for wellness, which is great for everybody's well-being, mental health.
Ms. Baldanza and Ms. Apratella, if you could, would you both, or one or other, maybe Ms. Baldanza, you can begin, and Ms. Apratella, you can fill in if needed. Could you speak to the cost and the funding source?
Yes, so through the National Fitness Campaign, they offer a grant opportunity, so which we applied for. So that was a $30,000 grant that we also received from the National Fitness Campaign. And with the open space program, it's a matching program. So it will be a $98,000 match.
560.
Yeah, 90, sorry, oh my goodness. I'm
No
trying to
problem.
look it up.
98,560.
Yeah, 98,560. So that would be the match. So the county would give us the half, and then we normally, through our open space trust fund, come up with the other half.
Okay, so we're finding half of 98,000 or half of 197,000?
It's 98,560 that the borough would be responsible for, and then the open space will match that.
Okay,
So to clarify,
Go ahead.
the proposed cost is 197, 120. So for that application, the borough share is at 98,000 and change, but then for the borough, it is further reduced by 30,000 by receiving the grant from the manufacturer. So that would come out of the open space trust fund. And then if there's programming generated, there would be fees associated with that, and then that would become a revenue generating project.
okay. I think you've done a good job of presenting it. Thank you. Could I have a motion? So let me read it into the record. Public hearing on the submission of the 2021 Bergen County Trust Fund Grant Application of the Borough of River Edge for the Bergen County Trust Fund Municipal Program for Park Development Grant Funding. Could I have a motion from Councilwoman Indira, Councilwoman Kinsella, and Council President Kinigo? Motion in a second to open to the public.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastido.
Yes.
Councilman Kamigo.
Yes.
Councilman Godier.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, we're now open to the public. Councilwoman Kaufman, do you see any hands?
No, if someone does have a question, please raise your hand and I'll allow you to speak and or type a question in the chat box.
Is anyone here on their phone, Councilwoman?
No.
Okay.
Okay. I do not see any raised hands.
All right, and if someone should come up with a question and they want to ask, we can always reopen. So we are going to close to the public. Could I have Councilwoman Bastide move and Councilwoman Montesano Cohen second?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Bastido.
Yes.
Councilman Kamigo.
Yes.
Councilman Godier.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, so at this point, the resolution 21-140 authorizing submission of the grant application, Bergen County Trust Fund Municipal Program for Park Development 2021. So according to Robert's rules, we need to move and second it, then we can enter a debate. If there is debate, the debate would take precedent. When the debate ends, then there would be a vote. Could I have a motion to for this topic? Could I have Councilman Gaudier move and Councilwoman Kaufman second to move resolution 20-140?
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. We are now open for debate. Is there debate?
I had a question if I could.
Well, that is proper at this time. Yes.
I just was, if for the benefit of the public, if Ms. Valdanza could share a little bit about where these pieces of equipment would be installed. Are they obviously weather friendly? Those two items.
Yes, sure. So the plans are to put it in Memorial Park. It would be close in the area, closer to the playground, so that parents could exercise while their children are also playing on the playground. The court does not have, and it's not a machine court. It's all body weight pieces, so there's no moving parts. There are rings, which is similar to some items that you would see in a regular playground. But it is designed for a variety of levels, from easy all the way to expert. So it does allow a range of opportunity. And like I had mentioned, it is all body weight. In addition, there is several components. It has a warranty for replacement, but in my research and reaching out to other communities in our area that have winters like ours, all the pieces have been doing great. It is a very durable court made. I have all the specs, but it is made to not weather for our type of environment.
Great, thank you.
All right, is there any other debate, comment, question?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead. Councilwoman Montesano.
Thank you. Thank you, Carolyn. I just want to bring something up. When I saw this in the agenda, I thought two thoughts came to mind. And again, I'm fully in support for wellness and bringing anything that will benefit the residents of River Edge. But during the budget meeting, my recollection was that this was going to be paid by grants and that there were no costs associated with through the borough. I may have been mistaken, but that is my recollection. That is one thing. And I also remember during that meeting asking questions about the long-term costs associated with maintenance. You spoke about warranty, which is great for replacement, but what is the long-term cost with repairments in a long-term basis? And I believe that was one of the questions that were outstanding. And forgive me if that was answered via email before during the budget meetings, but I do not recall. So I just wanted to kind of help me clarify between you and Lisette, maybe where my miscommunication is. And I don't know if any other members of council whose recollection is similar to mine.
I will speak after, if you want Carolyn to speak first, or I can add my 2 cents now.
Let's let Carolyn address that one issue, and then we can, or Ms. Apratella, and then we could move to your question. I think that would be for the sake of being remote. Go ahead, Carolyn, or Ms. Apratella.
Yeah, and pertaining to maintenance, all the pieces are individually managed. So if a piece does break, you can repair it. So it's not like a huge portion, but with all park equipment, you don't really have a plan to when something's gonna break or malfunction. You have obviously some funding for things like that, but all park equipment does get weared and over time does need to be fixed or maintained. But how this court is set up, each piece is separate, so you don't really have to worry about replacing a major piece because it's all individually. Even the flooring is tiles. So but I have talked with communities who've had this court for 2 years and they have not had any type of wear and tear on it. It's all weathering great. But I don't know if you have any more questions regarding that, but.
I think the question of funding is going back to that, cost to the residents, either in the capital or in the general funding.
Right, Lizette, did you want
to? What I had in the original book was the original estimate. I think it was 160,000, and the full amount has to be put in, even though it's going to be reimbursed as a grant. And it was put in the capital budget. It was shown in the long-term plan. for 2022. It'd be the 2021 submission to execute in 2022. And whether you're being funded through a grant or open space, a capital item has to appear in the capital budget. And so once the final payments are done, all the paperwork is sent to the county, then they send the check to the borough, or now it's an electronic payment, and that goes back to the open space grant. So it's continuously replenishing itself with whether it's the tax collection or the grant reimbursement. And that was my recollection from the budget meeting, that it's not that 6-figure sticker shock. It's going to come down with the reimbursement, and it's an open space eligible project. So that way you're not incurring debt for this project.
So if I can interpret that, this will all be covered by the open space funding, that it's not going to come from the general account or the capital account in the final analysis. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Councilwoman Montesano Cohen, does that satisfy, or do you have a follow-up?
Not at this time. Thank you.
All right. Council President Kanigo.
All right, so I have comments and I have questions. I was surprised, to say the least, to see this in the packet this week when I went through it. First of all, I recall during the budget committee being told that we had grants that would cover this in its entirety, that we wouldn't be having to put any money out. Open space money is still money that we can utilize towards something else, so it is money that we're putting out. The fact that we're getting it from somewhere else doesn't mean that it's not money that could be utilized for something else that is not now being utilized for something else. I don't know that this particular project is necessary, but frankly, I just don't know enough about it. I would have thought that we would have been presented with exactly what it is that we're being asked to approve. In this case, I have no idea whatsoever what we're talking about. I haven't seen a picture of it. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what it's made of. I don't know what the upkeep will be. You say that one piece, if it breaks, we can replace it. We're talking about weathering. So the weather affects all pieces. So are we going to have to replace these pieces? How long do they last? You know, you talked about the base. I don't know what the base is. I have no point of reference as to, you know, are we taking grass and earth away and creating a rubber base? How big will the actual space be that is being taken away? We have a small park. I mean, Memorial Park is a big park for River Edge, but it's a small park. I don't much like the idea of taking more park space away. So for all these reasons, I think that at the very least, rather than vote it down now, we should get answers to questions. We should table this and get these questions answered and have a proper presentation. Carolyn, I'm not trying to be down on you. Usually, you know, hit home runs when you bring stuff to the council. But in this case, I have no idea what it is that I'm being asked to approve. What I see here is almost $200,000 that we are being asked to spend to build something somewhere in the park. And that something may cost us money to repair. It may need replacement. However, we don't know if, when, or where that's going to occur. I would imagine that what is being brought here has been built in other communities. There must be some point of reference that you can give us so that we can determine what it is that we're looking at. How much money will we have to set aside during the year, during the budget year, for maintenance of this? You know, have we done studies or have we interviewed other communities and see how it is actually being utilized? You also told us that, you know, perhaps programming might be generated. And that may be something to bring in fees to the department. What fees and what programming are we looking at? Has the GIF been questioned about this? Does this create liability issues? If kids are playing on this equipment at night with nobody supervising and they get hurt, are we open to liability there? Are we going to get sued for having an attractive nuisance in our town? Has this been vetted? I think there's a lot of questions that need to be answered, and probably more questions than I can come up on the fly right now. I was hoping that the presentation would clear up some of these things, but I haven't heard any. And I certainly would want more time to think about it and think about these questions. So, you know, I would urge you not even to answer anything right now, but let's just table this, come back, give us some more information. I think what Councilwoman Montesano Cohen said is correct. And there were questions that she asked, I recall specifically, about the maintenance, and that we were told that we were going to be given the answers. And here we are at this sudden hearing, and we don't have any practical answers. I haven't heard a real dollar figure other than come up with $60,000 so that this can be done. So I would ask that you go back to the drawing board and give us a little more information, even a photograph of what it is that I'm being asked to vote for, because I really have no idea.
Ms. Bandanza.
Yeah, I do have here on my computer some items up to show you what it looks like. I apologize, like I, didn't mean to seem unprepared here. I wasn't
Not that
sure
you're-
exactly.
No, I'm not attacking you, Carolyn, and I'm not saying you weren't prepared. I'm just saying that there's a lot of questions that need to be answered, and I'd like to be able to review this stuff in advance of the council meeting, not just something on the computer real quick and say, okay, this is the way it's going to be. So it's not so much that I think, you've been with us for a couple of years, but you're relatively new at this job, so it's not your fault. And there's been a bit of flux in our little town, and COVID has been going on. So it's not in any way a personal attack on you or on the job that you've done, because I think you've been exceptional. So please understand that. But with this particular application, and this is why I said, I don't even need you right now to answer these questions, because I just want you to kind of regroup, talk to people, get us something more that we can look at, and we can, at that point, make an educated decision, which I think that we always try to do here on the council. So if any way it seems that I attacked you, it wasn't me attacking you. It's just, I'm a little frustrated by what I see here, because I'm being asked to spend a lot of money, and I know that I'm going to be asked these questions. I'm going to be asked these questions when I'm in the street, what are you guys doing? Why are you voting for this kind of stuff? And I have no real answers, because I don't know what it is I'm voting on. And that's the frustration on my part. So if it comes through in any way other than that, I apologize, but I do want to understand what it is I'm being asked to spend considerable money. I mean, I know in town, the $200,000 in a $25 million budget may not seem like a lot, but I think it is. And I think we have a lot of people struggling in this town, and we have to be very cognizant of how we spend money. So that's what I'm asking you to do, is just to please go back and give us more.
So, Mrs. Baldanza, would you mind if I let our BA, Ms. Aportella, speak to, and perhaps Councilwoman Bastide, because they both raised their hands during this. And I think that they might want to share some pertinent information, and then we'll come back to you. Is that acceptable to you?
Yes, go for it. Yep.
Okay, Mrs. Aportella.
Yes, and when we had the meeting on February 27th, Mrs. Baldanza did send information about this project. Unfortunately, we are in a time crunch because the county open space park program, the application is due May 14th, is due this Friday for submission. What we can do is submit it while we wait to determine if this will be funded. We should consider a backup project because of competing resources and economic issues, just to have in case this project isn't approved by the county or the full amount. Or we could always approach them and say, look, we went back to the drawing board and we want to scale back this project, or we want to change this project before an agreement comes forward. It takes several months for the county to, after they receive all these grants, to hold their hearing and then provide municipalities with an agreement.
Councilwoman Bastide.
Thank you. I was going to just remind the council that after that one budget meeting, Carolyn did send out some supporting documentation. I believe there were photographs attached of what the equipment would look like. And I'd also list, just as a previous rec liaison, support what Carolyn is saying is that the commission has been looking at this type of project since 2018, I think, Carolyn, you said. And I know I reported on it several times throughout my tenure as a liaison. So this is something that the commission has been working on. And I just wanted to remind everybody, we did get some supporting documentation from Carolyn, including the pictures. And I think Ms. Appertella makes an excellent suggestion that we move forward with the grant. And we can always, as we have in previous Bergen County open space grant applications, go to the county if we decide, as Council President Kanigo is stating, that we don't want to move forward with this project, perhaps that we can reallocate it to something else. But I think that we could move forward, always knowing that we could change the direction if we wanted to. But to leave that money on the table, I think, is not such a good idea.
Ms. Baldanza.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Bastide and Lizette. I could resend some images. I did pull up a video on my end, prepared to possibly share with the council if you wanted to see. There's a little promo, 2-minute promo video. I do have some images pulled up if you wanted me to share right now. Just give me some guidance here.
So Ms. Baldanza, I see that Ms. Appertella has her hand up again. So let's, maybe there's more information that she would like to share. Ms. Appertella.
Just really quick, as part of the grant application, the county does receive the minutes of this meeting, so they will see in the event the project scope changes, is reduced, or becomes a totally different project. They'll have these meeting minutes as backup in the event an application for whether it's a modification or a complete change will come before them.
Okay. Councilman Gordier.
Thank you, Mayor. My question had to do with the financing of this project, because I'm looking at my budget book right now, and in my budget book, the only thing I find is exercise equipment in the capital budget for the Recreation Department for 2022 for $160,700. I see in this grant application the final project number is $197,120. I was under the impression back when we discussed this that this was going to be entirely grant funded. So am I, just please clarify, are we still talking about us coming up with $68,000? Because I thought this was going to be basically a wash and we were not going to have to put any money in.
So I don't want to put words in anyone, and I'm not endorsing or trying to discourage this project in any way. I'm trying to be an honest mediator. But if I understood correctly, because Joe, I had that question too, that this would all be funded through open space. So there'd be, so it wouldn't be, it would be something that was covered by open space. Now, as Council President Kanigo correctly states, open space is funding, and we're talking about new open space funding that will go towards it, but it won't come out of the general coffers, and it will be reimbursed in capital. Ms. Appertella, did I correctly represent that?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, Joe,
Mayor, follow-up question.
Is your concern about the fact that it's coming from open space, or that it went from 160 to 197, or both?
Both.
Okay, do you want to speak to that a little bit more?
I believe the 160 was based on the quote on information that Carolyn had while submitting the budget, and then in culling the application together, I don't know how far back those figures went, but in culling the application together based on, I guess, the amount of pieces of equipment or whatever the fees are, this is a more updated number, but I would defer to Carolyn since she worked with Mr. Costa's office to come up with the letter of intent.
Correct. So that 160 was the estimated amount from the National Fitness Campaign. That was their estimate. And then once I met with Costa Engineering, they came up with an estimate based on all the specs and installation. They came up with their own installation cost. So that's where the difference was. So it was an original estimate from National Fitness Campaign, and now in the application, this is the cost estimate from Costa Engineering.
Councilman Godier, do you have another question?
Yeah, I would just like to make the comment that's a pretty big discrepancy.
Okay. Anything else? No. Council President, I see your mic is open. Would you like to speak?
Yeah, well, I mean, it feels like we've been painted into a corner here because it sounds to me like there is an opportunity to obtain funds. And if we don't pursue the opportunity from what Councilwoman Bastide says, then we lose that opportunity to get some free money here. So, you know, if that's the case, and I need to be understanding of that, you know, it may change my mind as to how to proceed tonight. I also need to have a better understanding, perhaps, of how this open space fund system works. If we get this particular chunk of change from the county, will we be able to pursue open space for other projects? We know that we have the KBG project that is coming up, and it's going to cost the town a lot of money. That's clearly open space. Can we go for more funds in there? And it's going to require, one way or another, a lot of money to be put in. You know, I still haven't heard an answer as to exactly where it's located. I know we have the map and a little drawing of where it might be, but it's very difficult to tell from this photograph that we were sent as to exactly where this equipment will be placed. What are these tiles that are going to be placed on the ground? You know, are they permeable? Does it have an impact in that sense? And again, we have no idea of the maintenance costs. Also, how do we turn around and reallocate this money to something else? If you're just asking us to go and apply for the grant and then we can decide how to allocate it, that's great. I'm happy to go ahead and apply for a grant that's going to bring money into town. But if then this grant really has to be used for this project, I still don't know enough about this project. Now, Carolyn, I apologize. I'm sure you sent me the email back in February. We were going through budget meetings. We're getting all those emails, obviously everything having to do with the running of the town, on top of which COVID and 1,000 other issues. So if I missed it, I apologize. I don't recall seeing it, and I don't recall seeing those pictures. But it still doesn't change the fact that I didn't get any of this information in the packet. All I got was 3 pages, the resolution, this photograph, and a copy of an application that was signed back in April. So, you know, this has been going on at the very least since April 9th. So at the very least 1 month, and we get it 5 days before the deadline or 4 days before the deadline, and we're being told kind of use it or lose it. And, you know, it seems short-sighted for us to even question it. We should go forward. I've got so many questions with this project. And frankly, I don't even know if it's something that this town really needs. You know, it's got nothing to do with wellness. You guys have heard me talk, you know, ad nauseum, and you're sick of it. I go walking every day. I'm very pro exercise and wellness, and I hope everybody does this regularly. But does this little community need that piece of equipment in our small park, which will, you know, take space away? So I just don't know. And, you know, I've got all these questions, and I think I've thrown a lot out again. I guess the main ones are the open space funding questions. Can we really use it for something else? If we miss this application, does that foreclose our ability to pursue other open fund grants this year? or is this it? You know, I mean, I guess that's the main one.
I think that's a good question, Council President. Mr. Sarlo and Ms. Apratella, where, what are the deadlines, and how much flexibility do we actually have? Because that's really what the council needs to vote on right now. We've had a 30-minute debate on this. There may be some argument about, you know, whether we want this or not, the location or not. But right now, I think the only issue before us is if we do not vote on this tonight, do we lose an opportunity? And if we do vote on this and approve it, what sort of flexibility do we have? So Mr. Sarlo, Ms. Apratella, if you could speak to those issues, that would be great.
For this county program, they only do it once a year. So this is the only round for 2021.
Okay.
And like I said, the deadline is Friday. And with the county open space grant, you have part of the requirement is to do a notice as a legal ad and a display ad 10 days before the public hearing. So if no application is submitted in 2021, then you have to wait for the 2022 round.
Okay. Now, before you leave, and Mr. Sarlo may wish to weigh in, does this in any way have an adverse effect on KGB? And could this, if we wish, be redirected to KGB?
It was advertised as an application for the outdoor fitness court. The KGB project, we've already earmarked the funding for it. If something comes down the pike, like the DEP requirements or something else associated with the project, creates a cost overrun that is greater than what we have in our open space trust fund allocated for the project and for the grant, we could always petition the county to change the project and say, look, we already applied for KGB in 2 phases. We need to amend our application for a phase 3. Let us know what we need to do. And it's ultimately the county's decision if it's just a simple resolution or we have to hold a new hearing. But if no application is submitted and we face that issue with KGB, we can't go to the county and ask for more money because then they'll say, well, you have to wait till the 2022 round.
Okay. So if I understand you correctly, what you're saying is that this creates somewhat of a buffer for KGB, and that that if we do not vote on it tonight and do not vote it up tonight, if it's voted down tonight, then the funding for this year is null and void. Is that correct?
Correct.
Council, I mean, Mr. Sarlo, comments or thoughts in regards to legality?
No, I concur with Lizette. It's a once a year Bergen County open space. And if you don't put an application in, you would have to wait the next year to put an application in. And just as she indicated, if you amend your application to switch over to KBJ, it would be up to the county to make that determination if they'll approve the amendment, based on a variety of factors. And that's something I don't think myself or Lizette or anyone can obviously speak to. You'd run that risk.
So I am not endorsing nor am I opposing this. So I don't want my next comments to be misinterpreted. I have my own personal opinion, which I have reserved about this project because as mayor, and in COVID, I have to arbitrate our debate. But I would recommend to the council for practicality purposes that we move to a vote. We've debated, but there is at this time no further information that we can practically provide. So I think the council should now call the question and let it ride where it is. Is that acceptable to the council to call the question?
Mayor, I would just like to say one further thing.
Sure, Mr. Councilman.
If we don't put in this application, we definitely don't get the money, right?
We don't get any money this year. That is
Okay.
That's the point that our BA and our borough attorney and our Director of Recreation have stated.
Right. So my personal opinion, we don't want to leave money on the table. So, it would be the pragmatic approach to put in the application.
Council President.
You could also, I'm sorry, you can also put in your application and can also at any point withdraw it if you so choose not to go forward with it after you get more information. And then the county would just redistribute those funds that were allocated. So, putting it in just gives you some flexibility. You can always try and reprogram it. And if this project is something after you get more information says, hey, this ain't something we can go, you can always withdraw this application.
Council President.
Yeah, look, I don't think we're really being presented a choice here. I think we have to go for it, obviously. Okay, it's not a choice. I would like to know, and if you don't want to answer it today, at some point I want to know, did we miss an opportunity here? Okay, to go after funds for a project that we've all said should be going forward and is going forward, that could alleviate a burden on the taxpayer down the line. And I'm just wondering about that. And that's got nothing to do with the vote now, because we don't have a choice on the matter. So I'm more than happy to move this forward at this point, ending the debate unless somebody else wants to say something. But I gotta say, it sounds to me like we missed an opportunity.
Well, I think we end debate. If there is no objection, without objection, we will call the question. Is there objection?
May I just respond to one question though?
Sure, go ahead.
There is a separate grant through the DEP that actually I had my monthly meeting with the borough engineer that we're looking to apply for, that includes remediation of a development of a recreational site. So we're pursuing that to try to supplement the current project.
That's great. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So is there objection?
None here.
Hearing none, we call the question. Roll call.
Councilwoman Bastu.
Is this to approve the application? I'm sorry.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's been moved and seconded, and now we're choosing to approve it or not.
Yes.
Councilman Canito.
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
And Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
All right, so now we're up to item 11. There are monthly reports available to the public that they can petition the clerk to provide. Appointments and
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, before we move forward, can we get some of the answers to that question before the next meeting?
My assumption would be that Ms. Baldenza and Ms. Apatella and our liaison will coordinate, and information will be provided, additional information. I think that request, hopefully that request was heard loud and clear, and that would be provided. Even in addition, I think Ms. Baldenza has offered to resend some of the information she's already sent, and hopefully she will be able to, with the support of the liaison and the BA, answer more of the questions in regard that have been raised tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Item number 12, appointments and personnel change. Could I have Councilwoman Montesano and move, and Councilman Gaudier second, after I have read into the record the two items? A, approve the salary change of Eric Phillips, tree trimmer 1, from an annual salary of $73,969 to $74,975, effective May 15, 2021. Approve the salary and title change of Lisa Hessman from office manager / administrative assistant at an annual salary of $58,362 to office manager / administrative assistant / municipal certified recycling coordinator, $68,100, effective April 1st, 2021. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Councilwoman Bastu.
Yes.
Councilman Canito.
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, we have now item number 13, second reading and hearing on ordinances. Could I have Councilwoman Bastide move and Councilwoman Kinsella second after I finish reading the ordinance? And this would be to open to the public. Ordinance 21-19, an ordinance authorizing execution of access easement for sanitary sewer line on lot 33 in block 1302. Could I have a motion a second?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Bastide.
Yes.
Councilman Kenigo.
Yes.
Godier.
Yes.
Woman Kaufman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
Woman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Ms. Apertella, can you please, for the public's benefit, give a brief summary of ordinance 21-19?
Yes.
And
the
if the
purpose-
public could raise their hand with Councilwoman Kaufman so that we are ready to entertain comments and questions. Ms. Apertella.
Yes, as the ordinance states, there's a 15-foot wide sanitary sewer line belonging to the Borough of River Edge located in the property of block 1302, lot 33, and under the New Jersey Local Lands and Buildings Law, Title 12. In order to sign an easement agreement, there has to be an ordinance authorizing the execution of said agreement.
All right. And this is necessary for sewer sanitation maintenance, or could you just speak to that a little bit?
Yes, it's for so that way the borough can do its annual inspections, maintenance, repairs, replacement without damaging the property. And this is important because maintenance of the sanitary sewer is important to the public health and safety and welfare to the public.
Excellent. All right, we are open to the public. Councilwoman Kaufman, do we have comments or questions from the public?
We do not.
All right, then could I have, I'm not keeping track at this point, so I'm just calling out randomly. Councilman Gaudier move and Councilwoman Montesano second to close to the public.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Councilwoman Bastide.
Yes.
Councilman Kenigo.
Yes.
Councilman Godier.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
All right, could I have Council President Kenigo move and Councilwoman Kinsella second to move for adoption?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. This is debatable. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Bastide.
Yes.
Councilman Kenigo.
Yes.
Councilman Godier.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, we have resolutions 21-141 to 21-150. Is there any resolution that a council person has a question about or wishes for a separate vote? Is there? Councilwoman Bastide.
Thank you. I just, I offer that we may want to remove 21-145 until a later time, since there seems to be lots of debate and question about the moving forward with the actual fitness campaign. I support the project, but I know we do have a lot of questions, and this, if I'm reading this correctly, it commits us to the project, unless I'm reading it incorrectly.
So Ms. Apertella, could you speak to that?
Resolution 21-145 is associated with the overall project. This is to accept the $30,000 grant. Since it's not a 2021 project, it's a 2022. It is not time sensitive, so it can be pulled and considered for a later date. It just can't be, and Carolyn can correct me if I'm wrong, it just can't be like next January or February, because then they start their scheduling for delivery of the product. So we have the rest of 2021 to mull this over.
right? Because this doesn't have anything to do with the Bergen County open space application, right? This has
Correct.
to do with the National Fitness Campaign grant. So I just wanted to point that out to the council if there was an intent to want to kind of hold off on this until we have those questions answered.
So is there a desire to table 21-145?
Yes, please, and thank you, Ellen, for pointing that out.
You're welcome.
So would you make that a motion, please? Formally 21-145. Do you move
So
to
moved.
table?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
It is open for debate. Is there debate?
I just wanted to go on the record that this doesn't change my support for the project, but out of respect for my fellow council people, I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention.
Okay, we are tabling this for a period of several months before the year ends. Just so it's clear, we're not tabling it into 2022. We're tabling it for some time in the future of 2021. Could I have a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Bastido.
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo.
Yes.
Councilman Godier.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
All right, we have now 21-141 through 21-144, 21-146 through 21-150. Could I have a motion from Councilwoman Kinsella and a second from Councilman Godier?
So moved.
Second.
This is open for debate. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Bastido.
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo.
Yes.
Godier. Councilman Godier.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, we are now up to payment of the bills, 21-151. Could I have our finance chair please move and someone from the finance committee second?
At a regular meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of River Edge, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, held on May 10, 2021, be it resolved that the Mayor and Council of the Borough of River Edge approve the following expenditures. Current fund, $5,552,961.87. Capital fund, $57,976.52. Grant fund, $1,589.85. Animal control fund, $15. Open space fund, $1,019.58. Payroll fund, $12,079.66. Developers escrow, $1,500. Self-insurance trust fund, $3,653.68. So moved.
Second.
Okay, this is open for debate. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Bastido.
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo.
Yes.
Councilman Godier.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, at this point, we need to do a procedural question. Mr. Sarlo needs to leave at 9 p.m. Mr. Sarlo, two questions. Question one,
Yes, sir.
are we permitted to continue with the meeting without you present? Question
Yes.
two. Yes, great.
Yes,
So
you are. Obviously, any legal questions come up, if you could just defer that to wait on an answer, I'd appreciate that.
Very good.
But you
And
can-
question number two, can you look at the agenda? Is there anything on the agenda that you would assume we may need to, what's left of the agenda, we may need to table?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
All right,
Let's-
then I know you'll be with us for about 10 minutes more or less. So let's move to Little League presentation, field modification, Jim Blackman. Which council member placed this item on the agenda? Or did Ms. Apatella put this on the agenda?
I think I may have asked the Jim come to see us because I like looking at him.
All right,
And
then.
Mr.
Council
Mayor, and for
President-
the record, I brought this to the council in last meeting just to give some context. He presented to the Rec Commission, to which point Council President asked for Mr. Blackman to come and present to the board, to the governing body.
So in this case, the liaison takes precedent. So I will allow you to moderate this portion of the meeting, Councilwoman Montesano Cohen. So I surrender the meeting to you, and however you would like Mr. Blackman to proceed, feel free to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, Mr. Blackman presented to the Rec Commission, hi Jim, last meeting, and I presented with details to the governing body in our last meeting, the intention to make some modifications to the field that would allow the leader leaguers to have a field that will help them hone their skills on the field. We talked about the costs associated with the changes, and I will ask Jim just to give more color about the movable pieces, what they entail, and what the field dimensions will change into once the changes are made.
Well, thank you very much. So as some of you may know, River Edge Little League offers rec baseball for all the boys and girls in town from kindergarten through 8th grade. We also offer travel programs for ages 8 through 14. So currently our kindergarten through our 5th and 6th grade divisions play all the rec baseball on a 46-60 field. That means the base paths are 60 feet apart and the pitcher's mound is 46 feet from home plate. And that's utilized by our grades 2 through 6. Beginning in 7th grade, the players jump from the 46-60 field and they go over to KBG where the field is now 60-90. So the bases are now 90 feet long and the pitcher's mound is 60 feet from home plate. It's a significant difference, and there's a lot of different rules involved in that game than there is in the younger Little League. So that transition to go from 46-60 to 60-90 is a big jump, and it's a little daunting for a lot of children, and a lot of them stop playing after 6th grade. So Little League Baseball started to recognize 50-70 baseball as a good way for the 11 and 12-year-olds to transition from the standard 46-60 field to the 60-90 field. Not only does the 50-70 introduce a larger field dimension, it also introduces several new rules that include leading, holding runners on, pickoffs, balks, drop third strikes, basically rules that you would see in high school baseball and beyond. The intention is for this field modification is to request to help prepare the 5th and 6th graders to make the jump to 60-90 baseball more manageable and less daunting. So for the last 2 years, we've had a U12 team enter into a 50-70 suburban travel league. Beginning last fall, 50-70 became available in the suburban league for U11 as well. So currently we have one U11 team in the spring and expect to have at least one U11 team, possibly 2, and at least one U12 team play summer travel at the 50-70 level. So that's a minimum of 25 players and possibly up to 40 to 50 players participating in summer for the 50-70 travel division. The summer season is 15 games, is a 15-game schedule. It's 3 games per week plus playoffs. It'd benefit the players and the families if River Edge had the home field to play these games rather than travel for all games. We also believe that the baseball fields at Memorial Park are some of the best fields in the county. So we'd like to play on them as much as possible. And other towns also enjoy coming to River Edge to play. So the league intends to monitor the U11 and U12 travel divisions over the next couple of years, the next 2 seasons, and get feedback from the players, the coaches, and the parents. If the league proves beneficial at the U11 level, we plan to incorporate 50-70 baseball into our 5th and 6th grade rec divisions. We feel it's a quicker game, there's more activity, it's not as much standing around, and the kids will get more excited about it. And especially the younger kids who are going to be in 5th and 6th grade, they'll have something to look forward to. So it's important to note that the field modifications that we're proposing will not affect any of the current 46-60 divisions or limit the ability for anybody in Little League to play games on the field. In order to change from one field size back to the other, it'll take no more than 10 minutes prior to a game or practice, and we intend to keep the field at 46-60 at all times unless a 50-70 practice or a game is scheduled. So the work that needs to be done to the field in order to accomplish this is we need to modify the pitcher's mound to make it a dual purpose 4650 pitching mound so you can pitch from both distances. This entails installing 2 stanchions, one at 46 feet and one at 50 feet, and buy 1 little league size pitching rubber that can fit the stanchions that can be moved from one pitching distance to the other. And at the 50-foot pitching distance, the mound will have to be built up with clay to a height of 8 inches above the ground. The pitching mound is currently and will remain at 5 inches above the ground at the 46-foot distance. So in addition to that, we would need to install new sets of base anchors and plugs at 60 feet and 70 feet distances. Currently, the base anchors at 60 feet need to be replaced, so we would be replacing both the 60-foot bases and adding bases at 70 feet. The plugs are put into the base holders while they're not in use, and you can rake all the dirt to cover the hole to make it safe. So when you're playing 50, 70, you're not going to trip going, running down the baseline and hit the 60-foot base markers. At the request of our rec commissioner, I was asked to get 3 quotes for the work that needs to be done. I went to a company, Stepping Stones, who declined the bid. Wojciech Landscaping Contracting came in at $3,500, and Tri-County Property Maintenance gave us a bid of $2,450. If allowed to do the work, the Little League will be would finance the entire thing, and we're asking that we can begin, if you approve, to get this work done as soon as possible so it can be ready for the beginning of the summer season that starts in June. Thank you.
Councilwoman, do you wish to share in that presentation or make comments before we open it to the general council?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, as I said in the last meeting, I think this benefits the kids of River Edge, gives them the skills that they don't have right now, allows for traveling teams and the field to be utilized in a larger scale. And I support the project and open it to my council members to their opinions.
Lisa, again, you can moderate this, so feel free to call on any member of council who might you wish to address.
Sure. Anybody has a question, please go ahead. President Kinigo, Council President Kinigo.
Thank you, Lisa. Jim, thank you for that presentation. It answered a lot of my questions. I think you've put together a terrific program with the board there, and we've seen that by the amount of champions we've had coming through our council meetings and having our mayor try to read their names as best he can. So, I think there's no reason not to approve this. One question for you is, and this is not a stumbling block, but you know that we're working at the on this KBG project, and one of the aspects of the KBG project is also going to be the older boys diamond and field. We're trying to create 3 fields out of the space there. So my question to you would be, is that field also one that you want us to consider having a dual purpose for the older boys and the middle boys, so that maybe you have the availability of 2 fields at that 50, 70 mound length instead of just 1?
Well, currently, we're just requesting to do that for the Memorial South Field, which is the closest one to the snack stand. The KBG field would not work for the scenario because the infield grass is further back.
And we're constructing a new field. We're talking about constructing a new field. So what we're asking you guys to consider is the idea that we might be able to do something so that you have dual purpose fields, not only at Memorial, but also at KBG, which would give you possibly more flexibility with scheduling and things of that nature. So we want to make sure, and this is something you don't have to answer right now, but since you're before us and as president of the Little League, you know, I put that out to you because we are going to be having these meetings with the Little League, and that's one of the things that I want you guys to think about beforehand, so that you're not surprised when we're asking you these questions at the time. So, you know, think about it, go back, talk to your board about it, and know that it is going to be one of the options that we can pursue. I'm not saying that we can definitively do it, but if it is possible, what we want to do with this KBG project is something that takes into account everybody's needs in our community, and this may be something that may be available to you. That's got nothing to do with what you're asking us here today, because I'm all for what you're asking us here today.
Understood. And I'll talk to the board about that.
Excellent.
I honestly don't, you know, as a parent of a fifth grader, and just taking over it as president of Little League, I'm not really as familiar with the KBG field and the aspects of it and how that would work. So I'd have to talk to the members who have
Again, the idea being it's not the one that you see now. Okay, it's
Right.
what we're talking about is possibly building a third field, so that, and then basically fixing and redoing the two fields that are there now.
Right.
So, you know, this is part of that, you know, wish list that we've asked you guys all to come up with.
Right. I've seen the presentation provided in a previous meeting with the pictures and everything. And
No. That's it. See, this is part of the misconceptions that I'm trying to get rid of now, right? Nothing to apologize for, but forget what you've seen in past presentations. Okay, we've started from scratch. We're trying to create something new. We're waiting for word from the DEP on certain issues that may or may not allow us to expand the footprint of what we have there now. So there's a lot of balls in the air right now. There's a lot of things at play. But what I'm saying to you is, since we are exploring all these different things, and since you're here before us on this one issue, I just want to put it out there. There may be an opportunity, if we're building a new field, we're building it from scratch. We're not just taking what we have now and revamping what we have now. We're kind of building things from scratch. So that being the case, we want you guys to give this some thought to see if that's something you'd also want to consider, given this new approach that Little League is having to try to revitalize the game, and we're all for it. So keep that in the back of your mind, and talk to your guys, and then when we get together for the meetings, the individual meetings, we'll have a deeper discussion about this stuff when we know exactly what it is that we're working with. Okay.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman, I think you have a question.
Sounds great. I just have one quick one. Are the coaches going to be building up the mound, the extra 3 inches when you switch to the larger field?
The mound will be built. It'll be built where it's at 5 inches at the 46-foot mark, and then behind the 46 mark, it'll begin to gradually rise to 8 inches at the 50-foot mark. So it's permanently going.
Stay there.
It's permanently going to be that way. You're just going to be able to take the pitching rubber from the 46-foot stanchion and move it into the 50-foot stanchion and back and forth. And then it'll be covered, both stanchions would be covered with the clay while the other one's not in use. So it wouldn't be a danger to any of the children stepping in there.
Okay, thanks.
Like that. Welcome.
So if anybody doesn't have any other questions, I will put forward this as go ahead, and I completely support the project.
Okay, so let's, hold on.
Hold on, yeah, Indira, Councilwoman Kinsella, you have a question?
Yeah, just a quick one. Thanks, Jim, for the presentation. I just, so that's the only change you're going to be making to the field, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Jim, we're not moving the fences at all?
No.
Okay, so
and the project is go to complete the work, whichever company we're allowed to use. It will take them about 3/4 of one day. It wouldn't even interfere with any practices or game schedules.
Okay, so Ms. Apatella, do we need a motion to accept? And if so, what would be the language of that motion?
The motion would be to grant authorization to River Edge Little League to move forward with field modification based on the quote that, the lowest quote they had received.
All right, is there a motion and second to accept that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded, is open for debate. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Bastu.
Yes.
Councilman Kaniga.
Yes.
Councilman Godier.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
All right, great. Thank you, Jim. If you wish to stay, you're welcome to, but we'll now move on. Jim, I think you're satisfied with that, yes?
Thank you very much. I
All
appreciate
right,
it.
good, good. Okay, so we'll move on to new
Have a great
business.
night.
You too, you too. Block party request, Princeton Drive. Ms. Abertella, could you speak to that, please?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
can I ask bring forth one thing under discussion? Michelle Creedy of the Beautification Committee would like permission to send out a blast on River Edge Facebook, on the River Edge Facebook page on and or our town website when they're going to do a big planting event, so she can get some of the community involved. And Ms. Apertola said that we should just talk about it and then we can move forward after that.
Okay, so is there discussion?
I would support that.
Any debate, any opposition? Yeah, I didn't think there would be. Okay, I think we can just, let's just do this by consent. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we're up to new business block party request, Princeton Drive, Ms. Apertella.
Before you, the residents of Princeton Drive are mulling over requesting a block party for mid to late July or very early August as a rain date. I know when a block party request came before the governing body that also involved the serving of alcohol, that request wasn't granted based on the current executive orders and vaccination rates and rates of transmission of the virus. So this is just to put it on your radar. We're waiting for them to finalize, but if you do see a resolution before you to authorize the use of alcohol, even though the executive order, I believe is in a couple weeks, which will remove the outdoor limit, it's still within your purview to determine just have the block party without alcohol.
So I counsel, I recommend to the council we not debate this.
Okay.
This was for informational purposes only.
Mhm.
And I encourage the council to be consistent in its decisions when it comes before it. So decisions we made prior and the intent, as well as the conditions, as well as the flexibility that we provided in the past, should be consistent from request to request unless the facts change. So I recommend the council consider that and not debate it now. And the reason I recommend the council not debate it now is because Mr. Sarlo is not present. So, so that would be my advice. And if there is no objection, I'd like to move on without comment on this because our attorney is not present.
Mr. Mayor, I know it's not so much as a comment on this specific request. It's more of an in general type comment, because I feel that we've sent out some mixed messages over the last couple of meetings. So I think residents of River Edge in general need to know whether they should even bother to apply. And I think that's the nature of my comment, because I think, you know, based on what we did last meeting, to me, it's a no-brainer that people should apply. Based on what we did a couple of meetings ago.
I'm going to ask you to stop there. I think that, I think we, well, at least I agree to disagree with you. I think this is apple and oranges. But even so, I would prefer us not to continue with this debate. I know your feelings on it. You made that very clear. Mr. Sarlo will be with us at the next meeting. I think that these are two separate things. But regardless of what I feel or what you feel, if we could not enter into debate or discussion until Mr. Sarlo is with us again, I just think that would be the prudent choice. But of course, you are free to act as you see fit.
I mean, we did ask Mr. Sarlo if there was anything that he saw reason that we shouldn't talk about, and he's reviewed it and said no. So I think we are free to discuss, especially in light of the fact that we're not actually voting on anything right now. But that being said, I'll leave it up to the rest of the council. If everybody doesn't want to discuss it, then I'll be quiet for the rest of it.
Does any member of council wish to enter into a discussion and debate on this matter? Hearing none, we will move on to item B, Library Story Walk Program. Who will be speaking to this?
Rosemary.
Go ahead, Rosemary.
Good evening, everybody. I'm the head of youth services at the River Edge Library, and we wanted to put up a story walk again this year along the path behind the cultural center that goes through the bird sanctuary. And apparently, I guess I got confused last year on who can authorize it. I thought it was the rec department, but I guess it's not. So I'm here to find out if I can do it, whose authorization I need, what will I need to do to put up the installment again this year. So that's what I'm here to ask.
I personally thought it was a great thing, but Ms. Abertella, can you speak to jurisdiction and authorization?
After discussing with Carolyn, since it is borough property, it just needs approval or consensus from the governing body, so that way Rosemary could plan accordingly.
All right. So we're open for debate and discussion. Any member of council wish to endorse, oppose, ask questions, make comments? Story Walk Program is our agenda item.
I'd like to endorse it. I thought it was great.
All right.
Agreed.
I agree.
Lisa, you have your hand?
Yeah, I also agree. I enjoyed it tremendously last year. When this was brought up to me as liaison to the library, I immediately asked Lisette to put in the agenda. I didn't think there was going to be any objections, given how successful it was last year. And I completely endorse the project.
Mayor, I wonder if we need to have this come back annually, or we could just accept this as an annual program and they can just add it to their suite of services and not have.
Well, I think what we can do, I would recommend that instead what we do is we delegate authority to Ms. Baldanza, that or to our BA, that it doesn't need to come to the council. We all like the idea, but there should be some sort of review process of what books or story walkway, so that I can't imagine that it ever being controversial, but if it should be controversial, we would want to demonstrate that there was some review process. So if the council had no objections, we would delegate the review and consent to the director of the rec or to the BA. I think it'd be more appropriate to the director of the rec. And if the director of the rec had questions, she can always bring it to the council. But if not, it would be an automatic approval process through her. Would that be acceptable, Councilwoman Bastide?
Yes.
Comments, thoughts from the council? All right, so let's do this by consent. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, Carolyn, and to whoever your successor is in 20 years from now when you decide to retire, but not before that. We're going to place that permission in your hands, and you should review it just to make sure that you think it's appropriate. I can't imagine it not being, but just so that we have a process.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Outdoor history exhibit.
Thank you.
I think, Eric, you're here for that?
I am. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm here, I guess, been holding programs since COVID started in coordination with the River Edge Library.
Oh, Eric, I'm sorry. Please state your full name and your
Eric
address for the record.
Eric Modell, 155 Monroe Avenue.
And could we stop for a second? Rosemary, would you please state your full name and address for the record?
Yes, Rosemary Garcia, 242 Webb Avenue.
All right. We're back to Eric. Go ahead, Eric.
Okay. Over the past year or so, we've been posting Journeys into River Edge, explorations, the offbeat, off the beaten path, overlooked and forgotten. First on Facebook, this is River Edge, and then starting last summer, we did the first of, I think we're now 6 programs in coordination with Julia Lee and the River Edge Library, starting with Remembering River Edge. And the last one was a St. Patrick's Day program. We have our first local hero program for this Thursday, where we're honoring Joe Maggieri, and hope you and others can join us with that. But talking to Julia a couple of months back, as people are starting to venture outside, she said people are starting to experience Zoom fatigue, and we were trying to come up with ways to engage folks in River Edge history. And we too were inspired by the story walk last summer, and we're thinking of ways to connect with people based on River Edge history. And talking to within the Historic Commission, we came up with an idea of creating lawn signs to create programs that educate, entertain, and I think I sent along to you prototypes of a couple of signs. We've thought about 3 or 4 programs for this summer. The first one would be River Edge Memorial Day Memories, and we have in mind about 15 signs. Given how much I enjoyed the story walk, we too were sensitive to the jurisdictional issues of the walk, where the story walk is going to be where it was presented last year and where it's to be presented now. So wanting to be able to complement that and not compete, I spoke to within the Historic Commission and I guess the Cultural Center, and we've targeted the space in front of the Cultural Center to be able to do this exhibit, which is now targeted for Memorial Day. We prepared 2 prototypical signs. We have I guess in total 15 or 16 lined up, and we were told that in order to do it, we had to seek permission from the council. So I'm doing that now. I think in the proposal that I submitted to you, we're looking to do another exhibit tied into July 4th, and then potentially, if the response is good, a Remembering River Edge, which parallels the program that we did on Zoom. We also did a Remembering River Edge program before COVID, twice before SCORE, and this would be some pictures of now and then of River Edge. And finally, there's been some talk in terms of the Newbridge Landing book that Mary Donahue has done to take excerpts. It wouldn't be part of the Story Walk program. It would be upon the discussions with the library, because there are specs required for Story Walk, but it would be taking, I think there's some 40 odd pages in there, and we would take 15 or so with Mary's permission and present it again in front of the Cultural Center.
Okay, Councilwoman Kaufman, I believe you're liaison to the Historic Society. Do you wish to put this in context or make any comments?
I think it's a great way to get the community more excited about River Edge history. So,
Any member of council? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done. I
Go ahead.
apologize. Any member of council wish to ask a question, comment, offer support or opposition?
Sounds like a great
Councilwoman
idea, Eric.
Bastide.
It sounds like a great idea, Eric. Thank you for bringing it forward. I would support it.
Thank you.
Eric, who would pay for it?
I'm told that there are projects now in the works, but I'm told by the commission that there's adequate money. In all, the signs would cost around $125 for one exhibit.
Eric, is there a process where a committee that reviews the ideas and votes on it?
We're doing that within the Historic Commission.
Good.
And we're looking to partner with the Cultural Center. And the idea came from me in terms of Journeys into River Edge, but as we're partnering with the library on the Zoom programs, we're looking to partner with the Cultural Center and the Historic Commission. By the way, the program Thursday at the library is going to be co-partnered by This is River Edge and as well. So, and we're looking to expand that among local businesses too.
Would the council be willing to accept the same terms as the outdoor history exhibit that Carolyn would be as a borough employee, or Ms. Albertella, if in Carolyn's absent, would give final permission and approval? Or does the council wish for the final versions to come before them? What is the council's will?
I would support that, Mayor.
Anyone else?
I would as well. I would as well.
All right. So again, it doesn't need to come before the council. Again, this is a great idea. I'm going to ask for a vote on that, but I think that's the sense of the council, Eric. But before they get placed on borough property, they need to be reviewed by either Ms. Baldanza or Ms. Apatella to make sure that there is, and I can't imagine there would be, but anything that the public would object to, and that if something was controversial, that it would be brought to the council before it was placed up. I don't see that happening, but we need a process so that we're being responsible to the public. So could I have a motion and second to approve this tentatively with the final approval either by Ms. Baldanza or Ms. Apatella?
So
moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, it is unanimous. All right, Eric, thanks. It sounds like a great program. And thanks.
Thank you all.
listener. All right, is there any other new business? Old business, I don't know. We have 2 items, but they're standing items. Is there anything that needs to be reported on at this time?
Yes, Mayor, if I could.
Sure, Councilwoman Bastille.
I will try to be brief. I know it's late. I was asked by Mrs. Awida from the Stigma Free Committee to have the council reconsider the need for pre-registration for their concert in the park on May 22nd. In light of the executive order that will be effective on May 19th that essentially lifts the limit on outdoor capacity. They don't expect to have a tremendous, like hundreds and hundreds of people, but they were asking if we would reconsider the need for pre-registration. And then secondly, if we would reconsider the need to have the 6-foot bubbles drawn on the site of the park in order to, for social distancing, and just rely upon people to do the right thing, which they have shown that they have been doing. So she just asked me to bring that to the council, if we would reconsider the need for pre-registration, and if it's necessary that the DPW actually draw circles on the park for the social distancing rules.
So again, I would recommend to the council that we not discuss or debate this until Mr. Sarlo is present. I recommend that we table this discussion as we did the previous to the next meeting. But of course, Ms. Council President Kanigo was right. Last time it's the council's preference whether it wishes to enter into discussion, debate about this. However, I feel it would be prudent, even if it is inconvenient, for more prudent for us to wait. But it is
I don't know that we have time to honor their request before our next meeting. And I also would just, Carolyn was kind enough to forward an email to me that our Miss Faustini, our public health nurse, had weighed in that I believe that pre-registration wouldn't be necessary. So I just want to bring that to the council's attention. In her capacity as a member of the Stigma Free Committee, I believe, maybe we could ask Mr. Sarlo for an opinion.
Okay, so Council President Kaniga.
I am fully support of what Councilwoman Bastide has just asked us. And again, I know you and I differ on this, but I honestly believe we set a line in the sand last week, our last meeting. We allowed the beer trucks into the park and people to be drinking together. And I think it's ridiculous for us to even consider the fact that this stigma-free event might be more dangerous than that. So I absolutely concur with Councilwoman Bastide, and we should reconsider it, and we should allow them what they're asking for.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen. You need to unmute.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since we're making these changes, I need to be cognizant of the fact that we recently approved a concert for the library where registration was a prerequisite. So at this point in time, I'm not sure where that requirement stands, because it seems that if we don't need it for that event, seems that it's unnecessary for this event as well. If that is the case, then I propose that we go back to the library that has been forthcoming with all the requirements that the GIF has actually asked, and lift that restriction if that is the will of the council.
Well, for consistency's sake, again, that's why I want Mr. Sarlo here. If we, because these are now borough-sponsored events on borough property, then we need to be consistent. If the council wishes to debate this without Mr. Sarlo, then the council should heed Councilwoman Montesano Cohen's very insightful comments that if we're going to grant this, because it is a borough event on borough property, that it would have to apply equally to the library.
Just to be clear, they're going to be wearing masks, right?
Face coverings and social distancing need to be observed.
Okay, so we know that when we're drinking in the park on July 4th, we're not going to be wearing masks, and masks are what prevent the spread of COVID and social distancing. So I don't know how much we need Mr. Sarlo for this particular request. I think that both the library and the stigma-free event should be allowed to proceed without pre-registration. I don't see any reason to have it, especially in light of the trajectory that Governor Murphy's executive orders have taken as of late. So,
Council President, would you also be in agreement with the second part of that request, which was to not have to designate 6-foot circles by DPW markings?
I mean, I think for these two specific events that have just been brought up, I don't think that the need is there to have these circles on the ground for these two particular events. For the drinking in the park, I think, given the nature of that event, we should still stick to trying to designate some areas that people can social distance. I still don't believe that's going to happen, but everybody else does, so be it. But I think we should at least give a valiant effort at that event. But for these events, if they're wearing masks, you know, and our people here in town are intelligent and thoughtful and have been trying their best, I think we can trust them to do the right thing.
All right, is there more debate or do we have a consensus? All right, could I have a motion to approve to remove the pre-registration and overt markings for 6 feet distancing from those two events? Could I have a motion a second?
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. This one, I think we need to do a roll call because we did a roll call last time. Again, Mr. Sarlo isn't here to advise, so I think we should be a more stringent process than a least stringent process. It's been moved and seconded. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Councilman Canito,
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Faulkner,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, if there is no old business, then we would move to public comments. Is there more
excuse
old
me.
business?
We do. We have the senior transportation.
Okay.
At the last meeting, it was determined that trips should still be limited to vaccine and doctor's appointments only, but to survey how many seniors will sign up for the transportation program if they resumed full service. Our transportation coordinator contacted the 21 seniors who were on the list, and only 12 had responded. And 100% of the seniors she spoke to preferred the full service. It would be full service, but still, since it would, obviously the vehicle is indoor, it would be limited in capacity. And she mentions that a town senior who organizes the SCORE outing stated that the seniors are mostly vaccinated, and they're looking to resume full service, like going to supermarkets and whatnot. So if the governing body gives approval to resume full service, the DPW can get it up and running in time for Memorial Day. And if the recreation director has any senior programs which require transportation, she would just need to coordinate with the DPW and see what the schedule is, because their regular programming of doctor's appointments take precedence. But they're just looking to resume service based on their responses from the seniors.
Councilwoman Kaufman, your hand is up.
Yes, I think in light of the responses we got, we should restart the service.
Okay. Is there debate?
Mr. Mayor, I was reticent last time around, but I've certainly rethought it, and I've read what was submitted to us, and I agree with Councilwoman Kaufman that we need to restart.
Okay, Councilwoman Kaufman, would you move this to restore full service? And if one other member of council would second. Councilwoman Kaufman.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastigue,
Yes.
Councilman Canito,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Woman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
All right. Is there any other old business?
Just two things to point out. Nothing new on the Cannabis Committee. We haven't met since last meeting, but we will set up a meeting soon. And I would ask Ms. Uppertella to give me a call at some point during the week when you feel a little better, and just talk to me about if we can set up a visit to one of these other dispensaries so that the Cannabis Committee can see what it is that we're thinking about, debating, and looking at. And secondly, I won't ask you to do so tonight. We haven't had an update on the KBG situation for a while. I know that we're waiting for some possibly approvals, but just so at some point, maybe the next meeting, we can put the KBG back under old business, and we can just give the public an update of where we are.
Well, I do have an update since I met with the engineer today. The person in his firm that does environmental just has to evaluate the wetlands and seek just to make sure that there hasn't been any changes based on the last set of maps, and then request DEP to do a letter of interpretation. And then based on the boundaries of the wetlands, then the DEP will state this is the exact type of permit that needs to be applied for.
Great.
Does that satisfy, Council President?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Patella.
Any other old business? Okay, let's open to the public for any comments that they wish to make. Could I have Councilwoman Kinsella move and Councilwoman Kaufman second?
So moved.
You have to. Good. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastigue,
Yes.
Councilman Canito,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
All right. So is there, Councilwoman Kaufman, is there anyone who wishes to make comments?
If anyone wants to make a comment, just raise your hand and I'll allow you to speak. do not see any raised hands.
All right, could I have Councilwoman Bastide move and Council President Kanigo second to close to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All right, is there any member of council who wishes to make a comment? If not, we'll move to adjourn. But if any member of council would like to make a comment, of course, we all mourn the passing of Sergeant Cheevers. We had a moment of silence. And of course, we all mourn the passing of Edward Lane, councilman. So I want to just reiterate that. We opened with that, we'll close with that. But is there any other comments that any member of council would like to make? Please raise your hand and you'll be called upon. All right then. Could I have a motion from anyone to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, that was quick. How about a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo.
Yes, good night, everyone.
Yes.
Councilman Godier.
Yes.
Yes. Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
All right, everybody, thank you. Good work tonight.
Good night.
for all.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.